Rovers line up with Ainsley Pears in goal. Dominic Hyam, Kyle McFadzean and Scott Wharton as a back three. Callum Britton, John Buckley, Andrew Moran and Ben Cosene across midfield from right to left. And then Tyrese Dolan, Sam Gallagher and Sammy Schmodix in attack. On the bench, Leo Walstead, Harry Pickering, Arnold Sigurdsson, Billy Cometio, Dylan Markande, Jake Garrett, Samir Tilalovic, the aforementioned Rory Finneran, and Yasin Ayari, who was on loan at Coventry for the first half of the season in the Championship. As for Newcastle, Martin Dubravka is back in goal, having recovered from illness. The back four of Kieran Trippier, Fabian Schär, Jamal Lascelles and Dan Burn. Midfield three, Sean Longstaff, Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Willock. Jacob Murphy, Alexander Isak and Anthony Gordon in attack. On the bench for Newcastle, it's very strong. Loris Karius, Matt Ritchie, Harvey Barnes, Emil Kraft, Lewis Hall, Tino Livramento, Miguel Almiron, Elliot Anderson and Lewis Miley. Who are the key players for you in that Blackburn lineup? If they're going to have the night of the life, Schmodix is an obvious one.
Yeah.
What about, say, midfield? Because that's where games are often won and lost.
Yeah, the name that sticks out to me is Tyrese Dolan as well. When he's on it, and I think the problem that I have with him, not the problem, but is probably the lack of consistency. But, you know, I've been here when Tyrese Dolan is at his best in the way that he picks up the ball, he brings others into play, he's got an eye for goal. And definitely, obviously, working with Sammy Schmodix is that's the important one you mentioned. That's the obvious one that jumps off the page. But Tyrese Dolan has also got the ability in him to change a game. It's just a lack of consistency. I sometimes think you turn up to a game with Blackburn and Tyrese Dolan, you don't quite know which Tyrese Dolan you're going to get. But if we get the good version of him tonight, it'll cause problems.
Ready for the off on TalkSport 2. Blackburn in their famous blue and white halves with the white shorts and blue socks. They'll be attacking the Darwen end to our right as we sit high up in the main stand here at Ewood, the Riverside stand opposite us. Newcastle in their change strip of the charcoal shirts with yellow trim and yellow shorts and socks, and it's Newcastle that get the game underway, and the ball's rolled back to Fabian Schär from Dan Burn, and the giant left back will play the ball up to halfway, just turned around the corner neatly by Joe Willock, but Blackburn win it back, and John Buckley just turns away on halfway, threads it downfield asking Gallagher to give chase, and Lascelles has to come across and thump it out of play for a throw into Blackburn. They're taken quickly and they have to set up for another quick throw as Anthony Gordon got back to protect. Tyrese Dolan trying to sneak inside from the right hand corner of the penalty area, half cleared by Newcastle. Buckley up to the edge of the box, Gallagher tries to take a touch, Burn with an awkward clearance high into the Lancashire night sky, and Blackburn have won it back, and they started with a good tempo. Blackburn Rovers flipped out to this near side looking for Callum Britton with an early ball over the head of Schmodix, headed down neatly by Trippier, brought away by Longstaff, and then Isak looks out to the right hand side for Jacob Murphy. Early ball looking for the run into the area of Sean Longstaff, but that's comfortably into the hands of Ainsley Pears, the Blackburn goalkeeper. 0-0 inside the second minute.
Well, it's been a frantic start, hasn't it, Dan? With the delay, I didn't know how that would affect the players, whether it might be a bit of a sluggish start, but certainly none of that from either side. And straight away we see Trippier on that right hand side getting really high, and as we normally see from Newcastle, almost playing as a back three at times when they're in possession, and you just see how wide he is. It's a great run, by the way, great ball into him as well.
Trippier offside though as he made that run, as a crossfield pass was flicked out to him on the right hand side. Incidentally, Notts County have equalised against Sutton. Macaulay Langstaff for the penalty, goal number 23 of the season for the Notts County striker. 1-1 at Meadow Lane. 0-0 here at Ewood Park. Great atmosphere, both sets of supporters contributing to that, especially the Newcastle fans clapping in unison away to our right in the Darwen end as Ainsley Pears, the Blackburn keeper, prepares to smack a free kick downfield. And Andrew Moran's just changing his footwear, the young Irishman in the Blackburn midfield. He sorted that out and he's trotted back into midfield, and now Jared Gillett will allow the free kick to be taken by Pears. All in red tonight, the Blackburn goalkeeper. Right footed down the inside left channel. Gallagher gets a good flick on it, won't quite break the Dolan. It was cleared up in the air by Fabian Schär and then out of play. Notts County 1, Sutton United 2. No sooner of Notts County equalised. Harry Smith put Sutton back ahead at Meadow Lane. Ball's back at the edge of the Newcastle penalty area. 3 minutes gone, 0-0 on TalkSport 2. They'll also be underway over on TalkSport, where Luton and Manchester City are locking horns in the FA Cup 5th round. Coventry already through to the last 8. You heard that last night with us here on TalkSport 2 as they disposed of non-league Maidstone. Ball chested down by Kusene. Ball gets over halfway, just gets away from Bruno Guimaraes for a second, and Smodic stumps it against Longstaff to try to get it to ricochet out for a throw. Drops in midfield, and Buckley shows good tenacity to win it off Jacob Murphy. And then it's back with Buckley once more. Tucks it back to Scott Wharton, who rides a couple of challenges. Neatly done from the Blackburn centre-half. And the ball out to this right-hand side for Callum Britton, urged forward by his manager, John Eustace, as he runs past him into the Newcastle half. Smodics will chuck it back into midfield for Dominic Hyam. Now Britton on the right-hand side finds Tyree Stolen, attacking the area. Little through ball for Smodics, angles tight, wins the corner, although it came off Smodics last of all. In fact, he thought he won a corner, but that was good incisive play down the right-hand side from Blackburn, but it only leads to a Newcastle goal kick, 0-0.
Yeah, it really was. I like that a lot. And Tyree Stolen, a couple of times he made the run, didn't get it, but he checked back, gets on the ball, and I really like that run from Sammy Smodics on the blind side. But for me, when he gets in that position, I don't think he needs to take the touch to set himself. I think if he tries to hit that early, it's always difficult for the goalkeepers. Hit that early across the Bravka, and I think there could have been 1-0 up.
23 goals in the Championship, never mind the 5 he's got in the FA Cup. It's easily Sammy Smodic's best ever goal-scoring season. Almost up there with Erling Haaland, who of course has scored early on for Manchester City over on TalkSport at Luton Town. Luton 0, Manchester City 1. Here's Isak for Newcastle in the centre of the Blackburn half. Floats it out to the left-hand side for Willock. Down the left-hand side of the area. Crosses too deep for anybody in a Newcastle shirt, but Trippier will keep it in play on the far side of the field. Finds Longstaff. Back to Trippier again. Has to go back in field. Of course, Trippier getting booed because he's ex-Burnley. How can I forget that? Football fans have got incredible memories, haven't they? They don't forget a single thing. Willock will touch it back to Byrne inside his own half, and back it goes to Martin Dubravka, who was ill and couldn't play on Saturday at Arsenal, but is back in the starting lineup tonight. 0-0 on TalkSport 2. 5 minutes gone at Ewood Park. Isak giving chase down the right-hand side, and the flag stayed down against the Swede, but back came the challenge of Scott Wharton to put it behind for a corner kick. Walloped his way into Alexander Isak as he did that as well. Corner Newcastle, 0-0.
Yeah, he did really well there, Scott Wharton. I think that's near enough the 4th time, I think maybe the 5th, that Newcastle have looked for that ball over the top, because they know in terms of pace of their forward line they've got the beating with Blackburn, but that's probably the first time that they've beat the trap effectively.
So a corner on the right-hand side to be taken by Jacob Murphy. Plays it short along the dead ball line to Willock. Given back to Murphy. Now Trippier on the right-hand corner of the area. So it's a very deep ball headed back across the face of goal by Byrne. Volleyed away by Kusene, and out of play for a throw. Port Vale lead Fleetwood in that battle of 2 of the bottom 3 in League 1 at Vale Park. Port Vale 1, Fleetwood 0. Jensen Weir. No win in 2024 for Port Vale, now under the management of Darren Moore. 0-0 here, 6 minutes gone on TalkSport 2. Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall down beneath us, as always in regular consultation about the way the game is going. And the ball out to the right-hand side, aimed at Trippier. He can't keep it in play, and it'll be a throw to Blackburn. Courtney Sweetman-Kirk's alongside me tonight, 0-0.
Yeah, normally Trippier gets a lot of joy getting high and wide, adding that extra body, but the way that Blackburn play, and especially defensively, obviously they play a 3, but it's more like a 5 in that defensive shape, and they're doing really well just coming across as the ball's travelling, so there's not a lot of space in those wide areas, and that's why on balance Newcastle have had to go over the top rather than use the width.
Ball up to Tyree Stolen, scurrying over the halfway line, and tips it out to the left-hand side for Moran. Oh, he might deflect it in front of Gallagher into the area, takes the shot. The offside flag's gone up against him anyway, and as he took the shot, Jamal Lascelles just got a foot in to see the shot loop up into the air and into the arms of Dubravka. Stays 0-0, but just a warning for Newcastle that there are some lively players in that Blackburn front line. 0-0.
Yeah, they are, and Sam Gallagher, he's normally the focal point. Schmodix and Dolan around him have got a lot of pace, and they use that balance quite well. And I think Tyrese Dolan started really well. He's looked really bright. He wants to get on the ball. He wants to affect the game.
He was a Preston North End youth player, Tyrese Dolan. Joined Blackburn 4 years ago. Now has made 150 appearances. Got a couple of goals against Stoke here in early February when John Eustace was sat in the stands just with a watching brief, having been given the job. And he will receive the ball, Dolan, on this near touchline, just shy of the halfway line. Infield it goes. Buckley and Britton combine, guiding it down to Scott Wharton, seeing his kid brother leave the club in the January transfer window. Now it's up to Callum Britton on this near side of the right, midway point of his own half. Really been pressurised by Bruno Guimaraes, so it goes back via the vastly experienced Carl McFadzean and Dominic Hyam to keeper pairs. Up it goes to halfway. Moran heads it down, but Lascelles gets a foot in. Cushion header from Hyam down for Schmodix on this near touchline on halfway, but his ball in field comfortably dealt with by the Newcastle backline. Ball's a bit of a hot potato in these early minutes, isn't it, Courtney Sweetman Kirk?
Yeah, it is, and for me, Blackburn, he needs to try and play it more on the floor, especially down that to the Blackburn's right-hand side. You know that Dolan's going to have the beating of Dan Burn for pace, but if you're trying to pump balls up to his head, he's never going to win that battle. So it's just being a bit more intelligent and managing the game and knowing the strengths and weaknesses of your teammates. Newcastle
just edging the possession stats in these early minutes. 9 gone, they've got about 58% of the ball. And they have a throw inside their own half. Trippier takes it quickly, gets it back to Lascelles and Scher. And the Swiss at the edge of his own penalty area plays it out left to Joe Willock. Willock faced up by Schmodix, so he just lays it off to Fabian Scher once again. There's still a number of players unavailable for selection for Eddie Howe, Joe Linton and Callum Wilson primary amongst those. Lovely cushion touch in field from Dan Burn to find Willock once again. He was looking for Burn down the left wing. Took a deflection off a Blackburn boot, and it is another Newcastle corner at the Ronnie Clayton end to our left. 0-0 the score. 10 minutes gone on TalkSport 2 in this cup time. Yeah, the deflection was that severe. I don't know actually if he was looking for Isak, but the way that the defender comes across and affects the ball. But you know, Dan Burn, you think about him and strong, combative, winning balls, but that little touch was wonderful. Kieran Trippier running the gauntlet. The Blackburn fans of that end away to our left. It'll be a right-footed in-swinger from the England fullback. Packed 6-yard area. Isak making a run to the near post, running out along the dead ball line. Actually receives the short corner from Trippier, gets it back to Trippier, cross to the far post, attempted volley by Guimaraes. It looked like it was a great effort, but it was blocked at source by McFadzean, and out for a throw on the far side to Newcastle. 0-0. Yeah, he's got wonderful technique, Anthony Guimaraes, and you can see as the ball's coming towards him, just the little short steps with his feet, just trying to sort it out so he's in the right position and hits it ever so well, and it looked like it was heading goal bound if not for the block. Newcastle's throws work back towards the halfway line, and Fabian Scher under pressure from Schmodix just lifts a ball intended for Kieran Trippier on the right hand side. Christiane the Villaloni playing on the left hand side for Blackburn gets it half clear. Schmodix can't hold on to it, he's dispossessed by Fabian Scher, and then ball's won back by Newcastle, midway point of the Newcastle, the Blackburn half, but it's overhit by Bruno Guimaraes trying to release Willock, and the Blackburn fans are incensed. They felt that Andrew Moran, their midfielder, was fouled to allow Newcastle to win that ball back, but nothing doing, said Jared Gillett. 0-0. No, and I agree. I think it's just a coming together of the players, but Guimaraes, you're expecting better from him here. He's got a lot more quality. Completely overhits that ball, just needs to take a little bit off it, and then Joe Willock, if the ball's good enough, he's got a couple of options. He can play it back across, he can get a shot off, but it's a real big opportunity wasted by Guimaraes. Courtney Sweetman Kirk alongside me, Ian Danter here at Ewood Park. Very enjoyable opening 12 and a half minutes in this FA Cup 5th round tie between Championship Blackburn and Premier League Newcastle United. And my colleague Alex Crook has been in touch with me, and he said that Eddie Howe says one of his favourite games ever as a player, when he was briefly a Bournemouth player, was here at Ewood Park when he scored the winning penalty in the shootout in a League Cup tie. So he's back on familiar territory. Of course, he's got Burnley connections, which won't please the locals. Had a spell as manager up there at Turf Moor in between his stints at Bournemouth. Swindon 1, Tranmere 0 in League 2. Swindon lead after no one in 5 for Sean McGurk. Here's Anthony Gordon down the left-hand side of the area for Newcastle. Gets the cross in, headed out by McFadzean. Just bounces over the head of Lascelles, but Blackburn weren't able to break off the back of that. It's Guimaraes just ahead of the centre circle. Plays it out square to the right-hand side, and Trippier. And Trippier will just calmly roll it back into the centre circle for Cher.
Now for Newcastle it's interesting because initially they could go over Blackburn, who were going forward, and there was opportunities, whereas now Blackburn, they've gone back into a low block, so they've got to work a little bit differently to try and open up opportunities.
And a foul on Andrew Moran, who's on loan from Brighton and Hove Albion, just 20 years of age. He scored against Stoke as well, but that was the away fixture back in November. Made his Republic of Ireland debut last year. Burton 0, Carlisle 1 in League 1. Carlisle 8 successive defeats, but Paul Huntington's given them the lead at the Pirelli. We played 14 minutes on TalkSport 2. Blackburn 0, Newcastle 0. Blackburn have it just over halfway with Dolan, who's got Britton moving up on his right-hand side. Smollett's curling for the early ball. Comes out to the edge of the box. Dolan trying to weave his way through. Trippier, with his facing his own goal, had to hook it away for a throw-in on the far side that gets the Blackburn fans all excited. 0-0.
Yeah, did another good passage of play because they moved the ball quickly, but it's interesting in the build-up there. Guimaraes had a big hold of Gallagher's shirt, pulls him back, but nothing doing by the referee.
So Blackburn have the throw and they work it back to halfway, and Wharton will go further back to Ainsley Pears. Goalkeeper just outside of his 18-yard line. Pumps it downfield, but both Smollett and Gallagher were coming back towards the halfway line from offside position, so the ball just sailed over their heads. And there are some tennis balls being thrown onto the pitch. We were told there were protests planned on 14 minutes against the ownership of the Venkies, who've been in charge for 14 years here at Ewood Park. Not quite the volume of tennis balls that you've seen at clubs like Charlton Athletic maybe and Reading when there have been previous protests, but certainly enough to stop the game temporarily, and a few players are coming over to this near side for a bit of coaching or to take on a bit of water. Swindon 1, Tranmere 1. Meanwhile, Tranmere equalised at the county ground through Rob Apter, and in that big game in the National League at the Hive, Michael Jacobs has given Chesterfield the lead, so it's going to be a 23-point gap potentially for Paul Cook's Chesterfield. Barnet 0, Chesterfield 1. So the goals we have, once the pitch is finally cleared, goals in the EFL: Burton 0, Carlisle 1, Lincoln 1, Shrewsbury 0, Port Vale 1, Fleetwood 0. The rest are goalless. In League 2, Forest Green 1, Wrexham 0, Notts County 1, Sutton 2, Swindon 1, Tranmere 1. The rest are goalless. And in the FA Cup, Erling Haaland has already given Manchester City the lead at Luton, live over on TalkSport. And Bournemouth-Leicester is approaching half-time with a score at 0-0 at the Vitality here at Ewood Park. Ian Dancho, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk in the main stand. We're now back underway. The tennis balls have been cleared. And it's 0-0 between Blackburn and Newcastle. Ball's out of play. Throw to Newcastle on the far side.
I think that was unfortunate timing as well. Obviously the fans have had that planned and had a time in their head, but that just coincided with a really good passage of play from Blackburn. And you're thinking, right, can they go forward, can they progress? And that stopping play, it just holds the momentum.
A bit of a half-hearted protest, really. It certainly wasn't to the levels that we've seen at Reading. There was also a planned protest by the Jack Walker statue from supporters groups that didn't materialise this evening either. But I guess they've made their point to a degree. Blackburn have possession with Callum Britton. Back heels it in field, but straight to Longstaff. Ball gets away from Anthony Gordon, and Britton does well and retrieves the ball and atones for the earlier error. Moran works it back for Dominic Hyam, who under pressure with a tricky pass back to him managed to clear up to halfway. Harrogate 0, Newport 1 in League 2. Will Evans with his 20th of the season for Newport. Now Sam Gallagher trying to get past Fabian Scher, can't get round him. It's Very calm defending by the Newcastle number 5, and he'll just swing the ball across to Trippier inside his own penalty area. Bypasses Husseini, and now a run up to halfway by Jacob Murphy. He's upended, and that'll be a yellow card for Andrew Moran for that challenge on Jacob Murphy. Newcastle free kick, 0-0, and it is half-time at the Vitality. Bournemouth 0, Leicester 0 in the FA Cup.
It's a shame for Blackburn down that right-hand side. Sam Gallagher, he works so hard, but realistically, that's where you want Tyrese Dolan with his pace and the way he manipulates the ball to run past people, and Sam Gallagher just didn't have the pace and the ability to beat Fabian Schär in a foot race.
So free kick to Newcastle to be taken by Trippier inside the centre circle, just inside his own half. Blackburn holding their line about 25 yards out. It's sent right down the centre of the pitch by Trippier. Byrne gets the flick on. That's well cleared though by Dominic Hyam, because he had Fabian Schär, his opposite number, right in behind him. Byrne again wins a header just outside the area. Giving chase is Willock. Down towards the corner flag on this near side. Works it back in field. But that's great defending for Sammy Smodics, coming back to say, that's mine. You're not getting near that, Anthony Gordon. Throw it to Newcastle, 0-0.
Yeah, he does extremely well, doesn't he? That defensive work. In an ideal world, that's not where you want him. You want him up the other side of the pitch, scoring goals, but there's a time and a place to have to come into that low block and do defensive duties, and Smodics does that excellently there.
Luton Town 0, Manchester City 2. Erling Haaland again for Manchester City at Kenilworth Road. That's live on TalkSport right now with Jim Proudfoot and Scott Minto. Here on TalkSport 2, we played 19 and a half minutes. Blackburn 0, Newcastle 0. Ben Treseni tries in vain to keep the ball in play on the left-hand side. It was Moran, actually, forgive me, who tried to get the ball in play. It's out, though. Notts County have made it 2-2. They've equalised again. Dan Crowley at Meadow Lane. Notts County 2, Sutton United 2. And Newport have quickly doubled their lead at Harrogate. Frandy Zanzala makes it Harrogate 0, Newport 2 in League 2. Newcastle in possession on halfway, 0-0 here if you're just tuning in to FA Cup Live on TalkSport 2. Here's Anthony Gordon running down the left wing, trying to outpace Callum Britton. Britton has brought him down. Free kick right in front of those Blackburn fans in the Ronnie Clayton end to our left, and a free kick just shy of the dead ball line. No yellow card for Britton, but a free kick that's almost as good as a corner for Newcastle, 0-0.
You know what, that's really clever play. I get why the Blackburn fans don't like that, because they'll feel that Anthony Gordon has almost brought that a little bit, but he's very clever. He just slows himself down very quickly, and then the momentum of Britain just completely takes him out, and it's clever play because Anthony Gordon knows really that he's going nowhere at that point, so he draws the foul in. I wouldn't say he buys it, but he draws it in.
So free kick to Newcastle. And once again, Kieran Trippier is the man with the responsibility of taking it. So it's almost like a short corner in hockey, not quite on the dead ball line, but only a couple of yards from it. And he may well fizz this into a very, very busy 6-yard box. There's a couple of players around the penalty spot, but plenty in both teams' colours in that 6-yard area. Trippier standing over it, right-footed in-swinger to come, fizzes it too far beyond everybody and out of play for a goal kick, and it gets wildly applauded by the Blackburn fans in that end for the poor quality of that delivery from the former Burnley man. So we've played nearly a quarter of the game, halfway through the first half, almost. 21 minutes gone. Blackburn Rovers 0, Newcastle United 0.
It's not quite found his passing range yet, has he, Trippier? That poor free kick earlier on. I think it was the short corner that was played back into him. He's playing it from the right in that deep area, completely overhits it. Dan Burn makes something of it in the end from the second phase, but he's definitely not found his ranges yet.
Goal kick from Pears for Blackburn down the left-hand side towards the Riverside stand. Headed back in field by Gallagher, but that's won back by Willock for Newcastle United. And then Schär hits it into out for the right-hand side, but he's got his radar out of whack there a little bit, and it's just gone straight out of play for a Blackburn throw on the far side. Newcastle have conceded 23 goals, Courtney, in their last 8 Premier League fixtures, and they haven't kept a clean sheet since they beat Fulham in round 4. They are struggling to keep teams out. And here come Blackburn with Callum Britton. Just gets a shout of man on from about 10,000 Blackburn fans as Anthony Gordon comes airing in at him. so he works it back into his own half.
Yeah, but going back to those goals conceded, look, that's something that John Eustace will know. The team, the analysis will have been done and feel that they can get at Newcastle.
Written down the right wing for Blackburn, gets to the byline, doesn't cross just yet. He's being held up by Dan Burns. Smodics is there with him. And further back down the line is Dominic Hyam. Well, Britton tried to play the ball around Dan Burn, but he's the size of an oil tanker. You're not going to get round him that easily, and Burn clears his lines.
And I'm not sure why Britton initially turns the cross down, because there are players in the box, so it's not like, you know, it's a silly idea to swing it in the box because there's no one in there, and he's got a wonderful delivery, so very intrigued to know why he turned that down. He just needs to whip that across the back four.
Newcastle have won it back, 0-0, midway point of the first half. It's with Jacob Murphy on the halfway line, just lays it off to Guimaraes on the centre spot, then looks to clip it over the top for the run of Isak, who's offside. The flag went up very quickly against the Swede, and the referee Jared Gillett says play on, and the ball's bowled out for Tyrese Dolan, who scampers toward the halfway line. His legs are a positive blur, aren't they, Tyrese Dolan? He scurries around the pitch.
Yeah, he does, and that's why Blackburn need to get him in the game more, especially isolating with Dan Burn 1v1, because there's only going to be one winner in that battle.
Poor header from Burn actually on halfway. Gallagher tries to cushion the header down to Smodics, but gives it straight back to the 6'7" Newcastle left back. And now he has possession in a bit of space just shy of the halfway line, next to where his manager is stood inside his technical area. John Eustace, also tracksuit manager, just to his left. Ball played down the Newcastle right. Murphy trying to get the better of Hussaini, but that's good defending from the young Loney to keep possession. Buckley under pressure from Willock, has to go back to his goalkeeper, does well though, and Pears clears downfield, but Byrne was always going to win that header against Tyrese Dolan. He's got about foot and a half advantage there.
Yeah, it's the right decision from Pears to get rid of the ball, but they keep directing it towards Dolan, and as I said, yes, Dolan's going to win the battle of pace, but it's not going to win the battle in the air.
Murphy tries to win a corner off Sam Gallagher, who's back defending, and he's won that corner away to our left. Newcastle's third of the half. 25 minutes gone on TalkSport 2. It is still Blackburn Rovers 0, Newcastle 0.
All been short, haven't they? And I wonder if this one potentially is going to go into the box, make it a bit of a battle, which they've not done yet, Newcastle.
Trippier with this corner where the Riverside meets the Ronnie Clayton in, swings it into around the penalty spot. He was looking to share, headed out though by Gallagher. Murphy sends it back out to Trippier on the right hand side, and he gives it back to Jacob Murphy. Slides it into the area. Isak takes the touch. He's driven out to the right hand side of the box. Looked just for a moment he was going to be able to get a shot away for Newcastle, but had to work it back instead. It's in the centre of the Blackburn half with Guimaraes, cross into the area, comfortably headed clear by McFadden, who tells his fellow defenders to get out, and has a cushion header sent back into the box. It's cleared out of play for a goal kick. Swindon 2, Tranmere 1. Back in League 2, Russian Hepburn Murphy has put Swindon back in front. And in that big game, second place derby, Leeds Charlton, Aaron Cashin with the goal for the Rams. You're listening to Blackburn 0, Newcastle 0 in the FA Cup on TalkSport 2 with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup. 18 plus, please drink responsibly. Tyrese Dolan for Blackburn, spins away just shy of the halfway line. Held up for a moment by Trippier, but a lovely cushion chest down from Buckley. Finds Smodics in the area. Smodics hits the side netting with a left-footed drive. A couple of supporters around us thought that was in. Blackburn's best chance of the game. Buckley fed Smodics, left-hand side of the box. And when you've scored that many goals, you might as well chance you're on. But it hit the side netting, 0-0.
It's a big opportunity, and if you want it to fall to anyone on this pitch, it's Sammy Smodics with the form that he's in. But what I really love about this is Gallagher's run. He does so well because he takes the defender away, opens up that little bit of a gap so Sammy Smodics can ghost in just behind Trippier. When it leaves his foot, you think it's going in. Some of the fans thought it was, I think off for half a second, I thought it was in the way he hit the side netting, but it's a big opportunity for Blackburn that's gone begging. Just
the wrong side of the post for Sammy Smodics, but it stays 0-0 in this FA Cup tie on TalkSport 2. Ian Danter and Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, former Sheffield United and Liverpool women's striker, alongside me here at Ewood Park. Newcastle in that change strip of the charcoal grey shirts with yellow numbers, and they've got yellow shorts and socks. Quite a distinctive strip. Clip the ball downfield, but Dominic Hyam very calmly nods the ball back to Ainsley Pears, who bowls it out underarm to Callum Britton on this near side, immediately held up by Joe Willock, plays the ball in field to Moran, up to Dolan, little chopped ball out to this near side for Buckley, and then Dolan thought he could release Sam Gallagher down the right hand side, but overclubbed it, and it's straight through to Martin Dubravka, 0-0.
Yeah, Callum Britton had gone as well, and it was the wrong decision. I think he needs to play it to Britton first, let Sam Gallagher get a bit of pace up, because I wouldn't, don't get me wrong, he's not slow, his probably first 5 yards isn't the best, but actually once he sort of gets going, he can hold a little bit of pace, so let him get going, play it to Callum Britton, who can then play it down that right hand side for Gallagher. It's just a poor decision making from Dolan.
Yeah, at the moment Smodix is playing through the middle, Gallagher slightly to the left of him and Dolan slightly to the right in that front three for Blackburn. Newcastle in possession, Trippier just over the halfway line will play it back to halfway, and Fabian Scher, the Swiss, squares the ball to his left for Byrne. Willock has come short to pick it up now, we'll just guide it back to Scher. Now the pressure comes from Buckley, but it's quickly released by Scher to Lascelles to his right hand side, and Jamal Lascelles, a real servant for Newcastle United, joined 10 years ago from Nottingham Forest, and he's a proper club man, is Jamal Lascelles. Bit of a crunching challenge from Smodix on Anthony Gordon, almost in the centre of the Blackburn half of the field, almost a yellow card. It's on the way there, I think. It was a fairly agricultural challenge. Free kick to Newcastle, 0-0.
I remember Eddie Howe talking about Lascelles, about the times that he wasn't necessarily in the squad, but playing as much as he would like, but still that leadership quality, the way he was and is round the dressing room, there is a proper professional, and I think that's something that you always need within your squad.
Certainly when you've got players missing, as happens with all football squads during the course of the season, you need those club men who are happy to come in and be replacements as and when required. Jamal Lascelles right at the top of that particular list for Eddie Howe at Newcastle United. A few substitutes warming up down beneath us from both clubs. Half an hour gone exactly at Ewood Park, 0-0 in the FA Cup 5th round between Championship Blackburn under the new stewardship of John Eustace and Eddie Howe, appointed at Newcastle back in November of 2021. He's won 53 of his 111 games in charge at Newcastle. Spent 18 months just down the road from here at Burnley over a decade ago, but he moved back to the south coast, found life a bit tricky at that particular point in his life, uprooting and moving north, and then he got the job at Newcastle. Force one back for Anthony Moran, up to the edge of the area, slips in Tyrese Dolan, across the face, on Dubravka, brilliant save to turn it around the post, somehow it evaded Smodix at the far post as well. Tyrese Dolan took a shot from the right hand side of the box, it looked to be snaking into the far corner, but a brilliant right hand from Dubravka put it behind for Blackburn's first corner of the game, 0-0.
That's exactly where you want Tyrese Dolan, isolating players, using his pace, does extremely well, does what you're told to do as a forward, grow it up, go across the keeper, hit it hard and low. And Sammy Smodix, he almost gets there too quickly, he wasn't to know. It's a good save from Dubravka that takes it away from Sammy Smodix.
Going to be Buckley with the corner. Moran's out there too. It's floated right back to the edge of the area, brought down by Smodix, goes for goal straight to Dubravka, and he just patted it out in front of him and held on to it. That came through a crowd of players. It was straight at Dubravka, but you've seen it very late, 0-0.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, was it? It wasn't quite Beckham's goals on the volley, but he readjusts there, Smodix, because he knows he can't hit it first time. Takes it down on his chest really well, and it's a really well hit strike. It's just a shame it was straight at the Newcastle goalkeeper.
Now Newcastle coming forward at 0-0. Anthony Gordon drifts infield and plays a lovely ball across to Kieran Trippier, right hand side, approaching the right hand corner of the area, slips it down the right hand side of the box. Longstaff drives it into the near post, and it's blocked behind by Pears, and now Newcastle have a corner. They're fourth of the half, 0-0, end to end stop.
Wrong decision for me. I think Longstaff can pull that back. It's such an acute angle. Scott Isak there just waiting for a tap in.
So another Kieran Trippier corner at the Ronnie Clayton end, where it meets the Riverside. In it comes 6 yards out, headed out by Gallagher, doing the defending. but it's retrieved by Jacob Murphy, who plays a 1-2 with Trippier, works it infield to Bruno Guimaraes, thought about a shot on goal, just drifts the ball to the far post. Cher tries to volley it across goal, put behind by Britain, but the flag's gone up for offside against Fabian Cher. Meanwhile, goals going in elsewhere. Salford City lead Colchester by a goal to nil. Matt Smith, 22 for the season for Salford, and Port Vale are 2-0 up on Fleetwood in that battle towards the bottom of League One. Ethan Chislett makes it 2-0 to Port Vale at Vale Park. Great noise inside Ewood Park tonight, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. 0-0.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Obviously the away fans are playing the part, but so are the home fans, and this Blackburn team so far, they've given the fans something to shout about. They've changed it up actually. They've gone into a low block at times when they feel like they're under pressure, but they've gone forward quickly, especially on the counter-attack. They've had some really good opportunities.
Scott Wharton lobs it downfield, but it's guided back by Newcastle to their goalkeeper Martin Dubravka. Gordon lobs it into the centre circle. Guimaraes under pressure from Buckley, has to work it back into his own half of Lascelles. He'll just guide it back to the goalkeeper Martin Dubravka. But 11 minutes to half-time on TalkSport 2 in this FA Cup tie, which will be played to a finish tonight. Might need extra time, might need dreaded penalty kicks. At the moment it's goalless. On halfway, Sean Longstaff goes back for Lascelles. Now Guimaraes takes over, drifts away from Smodix and works it out to Trippier again, just shy of the halfway line. Slightly short pass, almost pounced upon by Sam Gallagher, but it's won back by Newcastle, and they just calm things down.
Picking and choosing the moment as well though, Blackburn, in terms of that really good opportunity for Tyrese Dolan. That was when they decided to press in the middle of the park, but when they don't feel that they can press, they get back into that five at the back, that defensive shape, and just protect things. But when they feel like they can go, they are going in, not just ones and twos, which is important. When they press, they're going as a unit, and when that back five comes up, Newcastle feel that they can go over the top, but they've not found a way to do it as yet.
Hyam gets it up to Dolan on halfway. Couple of step overs from him, but can't get away from Guimaraes, who was too cute for him, and wins it back for Newcastle. Slips it through to Isak, but the flag goes up, and Murphy is offside as well. Free kick to Blackburn at the edge of their own penalty area, after Jacob Murphy was ruled offside by the assistant on the far side of the field from us.
Straight away, Tyrese Dolan, hand up, he knew he'd let his team down there really. It's poor from him. It was a good opportunity for Newcastle. I think this is a tighter one from Murphy than the previous ones. I think the assistant just about gets it right.
Yeah, no VAR here. We are in a VAR-free zone.
Thankfully.
Feels good. Stevenage 1, Cambridge 0 in League One. Stevenage take the lead, having got their first win in 5 against Wickham on Saturday. Jordan Roberts has given them the lead at the Lamex. Stevenage starting the night in 7th. Here Blackburn, who are currently 16th in the Championship and looking down rather than up. That win they got when John Eustace was here against Stoke City was their only win in 13 since mid-December. But they're not playing like a team like that, are they, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk?
No, certainly not. And it's strange because I was literally just thinking the same thing. You wouldn't think this is a team that's close to the relegation than the playoffs, but sometimes it takes a Premier League team to come here and to rise to the occasion. And I think it's important as well, Blackburn, that they take this level of performance and take it as such a positive and confidence back into the Championship.
Here's Cher for Newcastle inside the centre circle, chips it down the left-hand side. Isak brings it down beautifully, left-hand side of the area, twisting and turning, trying to get away from Britain, drives for the dead ball line, rolls his foot on the ball, brings Byrne into the game. Byrne trying to pirouette away from the challenge of Dolan, gets to the corner flag, gets the cross in, but it's cleared away by Dominic Hyam, only as far as Cher.
Brilliant by Dolan though. I know he doesn't necessarily win the ball, but he does enough to put Dan Byrne off and make sure that the ball backward, the cross in the box is poor.
Now Gordon, heavy touch from him, almost won back by Moran, but no foul as Longstaff got his foot in instead first. Bruno Guimaraes under pressure from Moran has to go back to Lascelles, just inside the Blackburn half of the field, squares the ball to his left and Byrne. Burn now having to go back to his own half under pressure from Smodics, who wouldn't let him settle for a moment on the ball.
Very close that, wasn't it?
It's our second live game on TalkSport 2. England's women comfortably beat the Italians in a friendly you heard earlier tonight. We've got more live football for you tomorrow in the FA Cup. TalkSport 7:45 Nottingham Forest against Manchester United. Jim Proudfoot and Andy Townsend at the City Ground. Whilst here on TalkSport 2, Chelsea against Leeds. Stamford Bridge, Nigel Adley and Matt Holland. Blackburn win the ball back, and Joe Willett cuts a very frustrated figure as he's dispossessed by Callum Britton at the edge of the Blackburn box. Little touch in field from Smodics. It's going to drift out of play for a Newcastle throw. Blackburn want a free kick, not being given by Jared Gillett.
Yeah, well, Willett might be frustrated, but it's his own fault in the sense that he holds onto the ball too quickly. I think, looking at his body language now, his argument is the lack of movement in front of him, but because he holds on to the ball for so long, it just gives the opportunity for Blackburn to get back and make the tackle. It's a really good tackle, by the way, as well.
So Newcastle in possession over on the far right-hand side. 7 minutes, in fact 6 minutes to half-time on TalkSport 2 in this FA Cup 5th round tie. Longstaff finds Murphy out on the right-hand side, hugging the far touchline. Crusaney in close attendance, so it's worked back into Newcastle's own half. And Fabian Scher. Burn now, just inside the Blackburn half, finds Willett. He ran out of room there and ended up taking the ball straight out of play for a throw. And Blackburn wanted to take the throw quickly, but Tyree Stolen eventually thought better of it, and he's allowed Dominic Hyam to take it instead.
But that's because Dan Burn had gone forward, it floated into that inside channel, so there was space but not enough numbers up for Blackburn, and it's a shame because if there were, it's something that they could have exploited. But it's good management from Dolan there, knowing that it's 5 minutes till half time. You don't want to lose possession and potentially go a goal down quickly, so it's good game management.
Trippier hits the ball against Crusaney and out play it goes for a Newcastle throw, bang on halfway on the opposite far side of the field to us, the Riverside stand, the oldest remaining stand, just a single tier stand at Blackburn. I'm sure you'll recognise it. It's the stand that the cameras point at when games are televised. Forward comes Fabian Scher, looking to lift it over the top for Jacob Murphy. Pears is out of his ground, but Murphy has to drift outside the box to the right-hand side to retrieve possession. Gets it back from Trippier into the area, chips it to the far post. Britton heads it up in the air. Gallagher's back to help defending. Trippier tries to lay it off down the right-hand side of the box to Longstaff, and that allowed Crusaney just to put his left foot through the ball and get it downfield. 0-0.
You know what, Pears does really well there to retreat. It's a very good decision from him, because how many times you see goalkeepers there rush out and feel like because they've come out they have to go and make the challenge, but he retreats just at the right time.
Great work from Bruno Guimaraes to win the ball whilst on the deck. And the ball's worked back from Isak to halfway and Scher. Now a run from Trippier inside right channel, picked out beautifully by Scher, plays it across the face of goal. It's over the head of Jacob Murphy. Dolan's back defending, then he gets dispossessed by Anthony Gordon, finds Murphy, but Willett can't get through his man, and it's chipped up to Sammy Smodics. And again the ball is like a hot potato. Nobody can keep hold of it for more than a couple of seconds at a time.
No, well, I think it's the first time though that Trippier on that right hand side, he's got the run right. The ball into him was good, but his first touch lets him down, and then the cross into the box was really poor.
Isak on the left wing for Newcastle United, level with the edge of the area, plays it in field but only finds Sammy Smodics. Square ball for Crusaney, and he looks to loft the ball downfield, and Sam Gallagher tries to turn on the halfway line but can't do so. Hat-trick for Erling Haaland over on TalkSport. Luton 0, Manchester City 3 as they approach half-time. Here come Newcastle at 0-0. Murphy driving for the byline, cross into the box, comfortable save with his near post for Ainsley Pears. We've got 3 minutes of normal time to go, and John Eustace just telling Ainsley Pears, don't get rid of it yet, just hang on to it for a few seconds before you release. Blackburn 0, Newcastle 0.
Yeah, rightly so. Newcastle are in the ascendancy, so it's just time for now for Pears to try and calm it down. We'll have a little bit of added time due to the tennis balls on the pitch, but it's important that, especially around the big moments of the game, those 5 minutes at either half, that you manage them correctly.
Here's McFadden working the ball to his left for his fellow centre-half, Wharton. Then Pearce just puts his right foot through it. His clearance goes straight onto the head of Lascelles. Ball bobbles around in the centre circle, and Blackburn come away with it. Sam Gallagher plays it just to his right for Smodics. Two players to his right. One of them's Dolan on the right wing. Right-hand corner of the area. Puts the cross in. Looking for Gallagher. Scooping header clear from Lascelles. But it comes back to Dolan on this right-hand side for Blackburn. Tries a couple of step-overs. Good defending from Isak. Stood up. Watched the ball and won it back, and then rides the challenge of one, and is brought down by Hyam, and a free kick to Newcastle United, 0-0.
Absolutely brilliant work from Isak, the way that he just stands tall. He's not watching the feet of Dolan that are flying, he's just watching the ball, wins it expertly, manages to keep in, it nearly goes out of play, then draws the foul, and that's exactly what you want when you're under pressure.
Newcastle play the ball long downfield, but straight to Scott Wharton. Now quickly released, Smodics down the left-hand side, he's isolated Share. Sally Smodics into the area, fires it over the bar. Took a deflection of Fabian Share, who did enough to divert it out for a Blackburn corner. But again, Sammy Smodics looking dangerous for Rovers, 0-0.
Yeah, he does. When he's got the ball at his feet and he's isolating defenders, you feel like something's going to happen. Tyrese Dolan does well on the right-hand side to back it up, so he's just occupying those defenders, so Smodics can go 1v1. It's a really good opportunity again, but you just feel that those two opportunities for Smodics, one of them's got to go in.
They're taking their time to get the ball ready, spotted down at the quadrant where the Riverside meets the Darwin end, down to our right-hand side. Eventually it will be John Buckley to send the corner in. Again, a packed 6-yard box, as it was at the other end when Newcastle had corners. Centre-halves are up from the back. It's lobbed in deep to the far post. Up goes McFadden, but it's well claimed by Dubravka. Falling backwards, claimed it well. 20 seconds of normal time to go, and we have 1 minute of minimum added time to come at the end of this first half, with a score at Blackburn 0, Newcastle 0.
And it's just for both teams now that they'll want to go in 0-0. Just keep it tight, don't make a silly mistake at the end of the half, and I think both sides have done well. I think Blackburn have had some very good opportunities, probably better opportunities than Newcastle really. I think the problem is for Newcastle, sometimes in the final third they're trying to create the perfect goal, trying to do a little bit too much.
Newcastle have it on halfway. We're into that minimum 1 minute of added time now on TalkSport 2. Newcastle in possession with Share on halfway. Early ball out to the left-hand side, and Dan Byrne, 20 yards inside Blackburn territory. Balls back to Share on halfway. Now Trippier in the centre circle himself as an inverted fullback for the moment. Finds Lascelles and out to the right-hand side, and Jacob Murphy. Lascelles once more. Finds Trippier in the centre circle. He spots the run of Byrne on the left-hand side, cushions the ball down on his thigh, sends it into the area, only half cleared by Blackburn's defenders. Guimaraes heads it out to the right-hand corner of the area where Jacob Murphy is waiting. Back for Guimaraes, 30 yards out. Tries to thread it into the area, but Blackburn have got plenty back, and then there's a foul on Moran by Trippier as he tries to bring it clear, and a free kick to Blackburn that should see us out for the end of the half with the score at 0-0.
Yeah, and it's clever by Moran. He'll happily take the foul, and conversely so will Kieran Trippier, knowing that if Moran gets free on the break it spells danger.
And that is half-time at Ewood Park in the FA Cup, live on TalkSport 2. Well, the Newcastle players are out in their change strip of the grey shirts and yellow shorts and socks. No sign of any changes from Eddie Howe at the change around, as Accrington Stanley take the lead at Walsall. Jack Nolan with a penalty for Stanley, just 1 win in 5 for them. Walsall 3 straight wins and on the fringes of the League 2 playoffs, but behind at the Bescot. And as you can tell by the roar, here come the Blackburn players bit by bit, not all 11 at the same time, coming out in dribs and drabs. Tyrese Dolan preferring to amble back out onto the playing surface. First few players fairly thundered out, and Arnold Sigurdsson, the Icelandic, is just entering the fray. The board's been held up to indicate that it is indeed Sam Gallagher that is going off. But an initial loan here from Norrköping, Arnold Sigurdsson, now a permanent move. Has scored in the FA Cup. scored in the rout against Cambridge in round 3. It'll be interesting to see, Courtney, how Blackburn adjust without that centre-forward fulcrum of Sam Gallagher. See how the lineup adjusts itself.
Yeah, and they've got to be, more clever then in terms of the balls that are played as well. You can't pump it up into Sigurdsson the way you would expect to Gallagher, the way that he can bring it down and bring people into play. So it might just spell a bit of a change in how Blackburn play.
We are back underway. Blackburn in their blue and white halves with the white shorts and blue socks, heading from right to left as we look towards the Ronnie Clayton end to our left hand side, where the most vociferous Blackburn support resides. Newcastle in that change strip of grey and yellow. They're heading for the Darwin end, where the 7,000 Newcastle fans are stationed to our right hand side. Lincoln 2-0 up on Shrewsbury in League 1. Rico Hackett-Fairchild's been amongst the goals lately for the Imps. He's got another one tonight. Lincoln 2, Shrewsbury Town 0. I'll run you through the lineups as well. So for Blackburn, it's Pears in goal, Hyam, McFadzean and Wharton, Britton, Buckley, Moran and Crescene, Dolan, Smodics and Sigurdsson now in place of Gallagher. For Newcastle, Dubravka the keeper, Trippier, Scher, Lascelles, Byrne, Longstaff, Guimaraes, Willock, Murphy, Isak and Gordon. Free kick to Newcastle inside their own half. Wigan Bolton is now a half-time score in League 1 at 0-0 at the DW Stadium. And the ball's back with Fabian Scher, midway point of his own half. And definitely Smodics playing as the central striker now with Sigurdsson on the left. Newcastle coming forward with Jacob Murphy. Early ball into the box, almost found its way through to Isak, but Scott Wharton did some good defending. Was cleared away by Wharton up towards halfway, chested it down as it came back, and Ben Crescene tries to work it down this near side, the Blackburn left, but can't find Sigurdsson. His hair tied up in a man bun. We still call it that, don't we?
We do. But, I think that's where Blackburn have, they've got to be a bit more mindful in terms of playing out from the back like that. I know they needed to get rid of it in that moment in time, but actually with Gallagher on the pitch, they knew that he could go and win the first ball, they could win the seconds around him, whereas now those long balls up that, a bit of a 50-50, but actually swung in Blackburn's favour because of Gallagher, won't be there now.
Newcastle have the ball inside the centre circle, but Willock is dispossessed. Sigurdsson gets involved for the first time tonight, just lays it off to Dominic Hyam. He has to flick the ball back to his goalkeeper Pears. Right-footed clearance into the centre circle and a free header for Lascelles, and then a poor touch from McFadzean allows Newcastle to win it back, and then McFadzean, in trying to win the ball back off Willock, concedes a free kick in the centre of the half, 0-0.
That was interesting, Dance, because the ball goes back to Pears and Wharton pulls off in the left-hand side of the box. Is in a wonderful position, no one round him. He could have quite easily received the ball to play forward. They go long and lose out.
McFadzean, so much experience at the age of 36, made over 170 appearances for Coventry before moving to Blackburn. He had equally long spells at clubs like Crawley and Milton Keynes and Burton. He's part of that Blackburn back three. Walsall equalise against Accrington Stanley. David Okabuye makes it 1-1 by the M6. Here, just off the M65, Newcastle have a free kick. Trippier works it to the edge of the area. Guimaraes tries to toss it into the box. It's half cleared by Blackburn. Work back to Trippier and into the centre of the Blackburn half once again for Guimaraes, but he's got two players herring after him, forcing him to pass the ball all the way back to Dubravka in the centre of the Newcastle half. He swings it out to the right hand side. Dan Burns got a hold of Scott Wharton, and the assistant easily spotted that, but Blackburn took the free kick from the wrong place as far as referee Gillett was concerned. They'll only have the chance to take the free kick. No, somebody's parked in the wrong place. Hope it's not me. I used to love doing those announcements when I did stadium announcing with the owner of what, please go back to the vehicle, otherwise the police will tow it away. And it always got a cheer.
I hope it's not you, Dan. I'm going to have to hold the fort by myself, and I don't know how I feel about that.
I'll cope. I'm sure you can. Dolan in the centre circle for Blackburn. It's 0-0 on TalkSport 2. Nearly 5 minutes gone to the second half. Callum Britton, deep cross from the right-hand side. Brought down by Andrew Moran. inside the area, left-hand side, gives it back to Crusaney, and his cross actually deflected out off Arne Sigurdsson for a Newcastle goal kick, 0-0.
Yeah, I think that was actually a clever idea by Moran in that situation, because there wasn't really anyone in the box to fizz it across first time, so he takes it down, just let his teammates get all with him, but in the end it's unfortunate Crusaney hits it against his teammate.
Derby County 1, Charlton Athletic 1. How can Charlton be where they are when they've got Alfie May scoring 17 goals and being joint top scorer in the division? He's just scored a penalty at Pride Park to equalise for the Addicts. 1-1 there, 0-0 here. You're just tuning into TalkSport 2 for this FA Cup 5th round time. We played 5 minutes of the second half. Newcastle United in possession with Trippier on this near side. Plays the ball up to halfway. Isak trying to turn it round the corner for Murphy. But then Crusaney wins it back and finds Ainsley Pearce, who drills a flat clearance straight out of play, much to John Eustace's frustration, who's now hands on hips. He could get a roller carpet under both his arms there. He's not happy with that at all.
No, but that defensive display there from McFadzean, I like that, and is not giving Isak a moment's rest when he goes in to get the ball. Yes, Isak gets to the ball first, but he does enough just to make sure that, you know, he can't just easily fit that round the corner under no pressure, and that defensive five have been brilliant so far for Blackburn.
Here though is Jacob Murphy on halfway, gives it into Bruno Guimaraes in the centre circle, look instantly for Anthony Gordon, but one back by Blackburn, tip over the top, Smolix is in behind and onside, drifts to the left hand side of the area, trying to get the angle for the shot. Newcastle have got players back, plays it across to Callum Britton, right hand corner of the area, checks back onto his left, sends it back to Buckley, pushed out by Dubravka, and Trippier will clear Newcastle's lines. John Buckley tried a shot from the edge of the area, but Dubravka was equal to it, and now Isak's on his bike down the Newcastle right, runs into McFadzean, goes to ground, and the referee says play on, but now wants to check that Isak's all right. Didn't see anything wrong with McFadzean's challenge, but wants to check on the fitness of the Newcastle forward. But at the other end, Dubravka tested again, 0-0.
Yeah, and I think it's because Isak goes down holding his face, so the referee has to stop the game, but I don't think there's anything wrong with the challenge. It's just a very strong challenge from McFadzean that does make contact with the face, but Sami Szmodic's there. I can't help but think he needs to play in. Sigurdsson there does so well, breaks the offside trap, and Sigurdsson does well. He starts wide and he comes on the inside and he's between the two defenders. And I think if Szmodic can find him, it's a tap in from about 6 yards out.
Good save from Martin Dubravka. Just seeing a replay again of the save from Buckley. Pears under pressure from Gordon, manages to clear the ball downfield for Blackburn, volleyed back into the Blackburn half by Trippier. Isak's getting physical again with McFadzean, who puts the ball out of play for a throw. Isak wants to take the throw quickly, midway point of the Blackburn half, but he's going to leave it for Trippier, who takes it quickly himself and gets it back from Isak. And then the Swede loses possession, and Crusaney works it up to Smolix inside his own half, tight to this near touchline as he tripped by Trippier. I didn't mean that. It's just how it came out the mouth. It's going to be a free kick, I think, to Blackburn Rovers. Indeed it is, inside their own half. Honestly, I didn't mean that.
You've been waiting for that.
I haven't.
For 54 minutes, I reckon, Dan.
No, look, it's Perry Groves that plans those sort of things. Not me. Szmodic for Blackburn, looks for the run of Britton, who's got in behind Byrne. Right hand side, not much support for him, lays it back to the edge of the area. Tyrese Dolan picks it up, tries to get the shot away, blocked by Longstaff, only half cleared by Willock. Blackburn really are asking some questions of Premier League Newcastle in the second half. 8 minutes gone of the second period, 0-0. Crusaney on this near side of Blackburn left, works it in field to Buckley. Buckley again spots Britton making a run right hand side, tries to volley it across the face of goal, actually got it through the legs of Dan Byrne, but Scher got it clear in the centre of the Newcastle half. It's laid off by the two youngsters in midfield, Buckley and Moran. Buckley gets his head up, Britton wants it again, but it's played through the middle. Sigurdsson charging after it, but out comes Dubravka and claims it just ahead of his 6 yard line, and it stays Blackburn 0, Newcastle 0.
Well, the initial ball out to Britton, by the way, was absolutely phenomenal. Doesn't do too well in the end. I think he takes too long to bring it down. I want him almost running onto that ball and driving into the box. The second one, it's a good idea, but it's Sigurdsson that sort of goes to the middle. I think Tyrese Dolan needs to jet across that front post and he'll get in. But it's very interesting now. We said, how will it change with Gallagher coming off? Well, what's happened is Callum Britton is getting a lot higher on that right hand side, and then Tyrese Dolan's almost going up with Sigurdsson or Smodics, almost like a two up front at times.
Lincoln City 3, Shrewsbury 0. Rushen Hepburn, Lasse Sorensen for Lincoln rather, going to go 9 unbeaten. And Rushen Hepburn Murphy's made it Swindon 3, Tranmere 1. And Luton have got a second goal. Jordan Clark's got his second. Haaland with a hat-trick. Luton 2, Manchester City 3 early in the second half, live on Talk Sport. No goals here, 5 at the Kenny. Jim Proudfoot and Scott Minto bringing you commentary of that one. But there's plenty going on here. Blackburn with Sammy Smodics plays the ball left, and Crusadey can move over halfway in possession. Smodics goes ahead of him down the inside left channel. Knew he had to stretch for it under pressure from Lascelles, and the ball's gone out of play, but it is a Blackburn throw as Notts County take the lead, actually go behind again, should I say, against Sutton United. Notts County 2, Sutton 3. Oliver Sanderson for Steve Morris and Sutton United. Incredible game at Meadow Lane. Out to the left-hand side it goes, and Crusadey for Blackburn Rovers. Now Andrew Moran, who was booked in the first half, the only booking we've had so far tonight from Jared Gillett. Wharton works the ball back to his goalkeeper Pears. Short pass into the centre of his own half from McFadden, who calmly chips it out to Dominic Hyam on the right-hand side. Britton tries to work it in field for Dolan, but there's enough back. 22,730 in Ewood Park tonight, 7,000 of whom, nearly 7,500 in actual fact, have come down from Tyneside. Harrogate 0, Newport 4. The Exiles go further clear at Wetherby Road. Seb Palmer-Holden with the 4th for Graham Coughlan's Newport, who are 13th, but lost 2 of their last 3 after what's been a decent spell post-Christmas for the Welsh club. Blackburn 0, Newcastle 0. We played 11 minutes of the second half on Talk Sport 2. Newcastle had possession with Bruno Guimaraes 10 yards inside the Blackburn half of the field. Plays it into the centre of the half for Trippier. Has to lay it off for Share under real pressure from Arne Sigurdsson. Trippier again. Quite happy to move in field and switch positions. Kieran Trippier not really playing as an orthodox right back a lot of the time, can't you, Sweetman Kirk?
No, not. You say about that 7,500 dance, it's sticking in my head. At the moment, they're extremely quiet, and they have been in this second half, because that's credit to Blackburn. They've started this second half so well.
And they've run the ball back again. Smodics trying a little trick on halfway to get away from Trippier, and then he was dispossessed well by Longstaff. Now Guimaraes powering over the halfway line, goes down under the challenge of Wharton, and that's a free kick to Newcastle that they take quickly. Willett works it out to Gordon on the left wing, punching the left-hand corner of the box, taking on Britton, tries to put it across the face of goal, but Dominic Hyam got a vital foot in, and now Tyrese Dolan tries to bring it clear, but wow, how quickly Anthony Gordon was back in position. Luton 2, Man City 4, Erling Haaland with a 4, of course, for Man City. Here's Jacob Murphy for Newcastle, 25 yards out, lays it off 5 yards or so back to Jamal Lascelles. Fabian Schär finds Guimaraes for Newcastle United. Still 0-0 as we approach the hour mark. Fascinating FA Cup tie here in Lancashire on Talk Sport 2. Ian Dancer and Courtney Sweetman Kirk, former Sheffield United and Liverpool women's striker, my co-commentator here tonight, as Murphy moves in field for Newcastle, plays into the edge of the area, given back to him by Gordon, tried a shot and it deflected out of Dominic Hyam for a corner to Newcastle, and there's the roar from the Toon Army, 0-0.
Yeah, I think again it's one of those opportunities where they try and do too much. Joe Willock's in a fantastic position. I think they let that ball run. Joe Willock's all by himself about 12 yards out, just the left-hand side of the box.
So Kieran Trippier with the corner where the Riverside meets the Darwin end on the far side of the field from us. So a right-footed in-swinger to come from the England man. Burns around the penalty spot, Lascelles there too. Willock's inside the 6-yard box, and 3 Newcastle players standing outside the box. It's swept in, headed goal was by Lascelles, somehow kept it out, drops on the 6-yard box. Guimaraes tries a shot, and it's finally toe-punched away by Blackburn. Desperate defending, but it's not clear yet. Gordon puts it back into the danger area, headed out by Wharton this time. Guimaraes on this near side for Newcastle. for Dan Burn, who strokes it back 15 yards or so for Jacob Murphy. Murphy now brings it forward 5 or 10 yards, goes for goal. It's well wide from Jacob Murphy, but that was real panic stations at the back for Blackburn Rovers as Newcastle came as close as they have all night to getting a goal and putting themselves in front, Courtney Sweetman Kirk.
Yeah, it really was. There was bodies absolutely everywhere. That was like pinball, wasn't it? And it just begged the question. I was thinking it earlier, when you've got the height of Dan Burns and Lascelles, who loves to go and attack a ball, I don't know why they've not whipped more balls back in from corners on top of the goalkeeper pairs. And they should keep doing that, because you see, it was so easy for Lascelles to get free at that back stick there, and it will cause so many problems.
I think we have to credit Ainsley Pearce for getting something on that Lascelles header from Trippier's corner. Hyam will head the ball back to Pearce. So an hour gone on TalkSport 2 in this FA Cup tie. And Miggy Almiron's going to be on shortly for Newcastle United. That's going to be a triple change for Newcastle. Isak is going off, so too is Murphy and Willett, to allow Barnes, Almiron and Miley to replace them. Meanwhile, goal kick from Ainsley Pearce. Might drop to Isak. Flag goes up against Isak, who put Jacob Murphy through, and that's the last action Jacob Murphy's going to have tonight. He's one of those 3 changes being made. So Almiron, Miley and Barnes coming on. Murphy, Willett and Isak coming off. Notts County 3, Sutton United 3. What a game at Meadow Lane. Dan Crowley's got his second of the night to make it 3 apiece in League 2. What do you make of those changes for Newcastle United, Courtney Sweetman Kirk?
Well, it's certainly attacking, and it shows how quickly Eddie Howe wants to get into this game and obviously try and win it in the 90 minutes. Harvey Barnes is the one for me who's got all that quality. Obviously he had a good start to his life at Newcastle, and the injury set him back, and just starting to get back into first team football again. But he is absolutely electric, and when he's at his best, I don't think there's many defenders in the world that can deal with him.
0-0 here, 0-0 at the Vitality late on in that cup tie between Bournemouth and Leicester, and it's Luton 2, Erling Haaland 5.
I thought he was out of form, everyone was saying apparently.
Oh yeah, that's the experts, is it? Shows you what they know. Yeah, all 5 goals for Manchester City scored by the Norwegian. There's going to be a change for Blackburn as well. They're making 3 changes, and they're going to be bringing on Jake Garrett, youngster from the academy. Also Yasin Ayari, the Swede who was on loan at Coventry, and Dylan Markande, a South Asian player who was on the books at Tottenham Hotspur before he moved here. And coming off will be John Buckley, also Andy Moran and Tyree Stolen. So John Eustace responds with a like-for-like triple change, Courtney, to the changes that Eddie Howe has just made for Newcastle. 0-0.
Yeah, and I think, look, it's evident that both sides really don't want extra time, don't want penalties, will want to get this done within the 90 minutes. I think more so for Blackburn, this will help physically as well, that sort of mismatch in terms of that fitness element from the Premier League. They're going to be a little bit more under pressure, so they'll add a bit of freshness to the side as well.
So Jake Garrett, an academy graduate, just 20 years of age, made his breakthrough last season. Scored 3 in the EFL Cup this season from midfield. So he's on. Yasin Ayari, who, as I mentioned, is on loan from Brighton, was at Coventry first half of the season, scored 1 goal in 13 appearances, yet to score here though. And also on is Dylan Markande, but Schmodix is still up front, leading the line for Blackburn. Newcastle though, they've made their 3 changes. Offside against Harvey Barnes, and the ball was flicked through to him. And we're going to extra time in the FA Cup at the Vitality. It's finished goalless between Bournemouth and Leicester City. I'll keep you updated. Alex Cook is there on TalkSport tonight. I'll keep you updated with Manchester City in our other live commentary. 5-2 up at Luton Town, all 5 goals coming from Haaland. Now here's Blackburn in possession with Sigurdsson, tries to guide it down to Smodics down the left hand side, but didn't get enough on the pass, Sigurdsson, and it allowed Newcastle to win the throw on this near side. 0-0 to score, and we've got 25 minutes to go on TalkSport 2.
And this could go either way, Dan. So I've been massively impressed with Blackburn, the way they've approached this, but now it's about who can be clinical. Neither team in the final third have obviously done enough to get themselves on the score sheet. I would say in the final third, in chances created, you know, aside from that melee in the box, Blackburn have certainly looked more dangerous, but you know, with Premier League opposition, if they can turn it on, find that little bit of quality, you know, they lapse for half a second, Blackburn, it could spell big trouble.
Salford 1, Colchester 1 in League 2. Bradley Hyundian, I hope I pronounced that right, has equalised for the Utes with 15 minutes to go. Colchester just above the drop zone, no winning 4, but 3 draws in that time. They could be on for a 4th draw in quick succession. Harrogate get a goal back against Newport. Harrogate 1, Newport 4. George Thompson up at Wetherby Road, but the points look safe for the Exiles. Blackburn in possession inside their own half. It's back to Dominic Hyman at the edge of his area, just evades Harvey Barnes with a pass out to Callum Britton, who's worked very hard down that right hand side. Now Markanday's giving chase down the inside right channel, but the ball just skips away from him and through to Martin Dubravka.
I don't mind the idea of that though, the quick one round the corner, and Markanday there, I just think he was caught on his heels initially. I think if he's anticipating that and is already gone, he gets caught in a foot race then with Dan Burn and makes it more interesting.
Dubravka clears his lines. Derby 1, Charlton 2 in League 1. I mentioned Charlton no win in 18, but they're in front with 10 minutes to go. Karoy Anderson for the Addicts. Could Nathan Jones be about to change Charlton's fortunes tonight in the East Midlands? Meantime, still 0-0 here, and we've got a quarter of the game to go in terms of the regulation 90. Ian Danter and Courtney Sweetman-Kirk with you here at Ewood Park, high up in the main stand. Newcastle attacking the Darwin end to our right in this second half, and they have the ball, they send it forward, but offside flag goes up against Harvey Barnes again. She tried to get the better of Callum Britton. Blackburn have a free kick.
I don't think he was overly expecting that ball though. I don't think the touch was what was intended to find Harvey Barnes, but with the amount of chances we've had for both teams in this game, you can't see this ending 0-0.
It's a great crossfield ball from Wharton from left to right to pick out Callum Britton, but he ran into Dan Byrne, who fired the ball out of play for a throw. Sutton United are ahead again at Notts County. What a game! Notts County 3, Sutton 4. Charlie Lakin, former Birmingham City youngster. I remember Charlie coming through at the academy, and he scored a penalty to make it 4-3. Markanday, meantime, for Blackburn, trying to get down the right-hand side, forcing Scher to put it out for a throw on that far side.
Does well with that run, Markanday, and the ball into him. It's just a bit too looped. It doesn't need to be looped like that, and especially because of the type of night it is, it skips off the turf. You just need to play that on the floor down the side.
Barnet 0, Chesterfield 2. The National League leaders go further, clear through Will Grigg at the Hive. Sigurdsson for Blackburn tries to lay it off infield to Garrett, but away come Newcastle, and suddenly Anthony Gordon is in behind, racing into the area. Out comes Pears and makes the block, denying Anthony Gordon. They still have it, Newcastle. Left hand corner of the box, Miley driving for the dead ball line and wins a corner, but Blackburn are indebted to their goalkeeper. Anthony Gordon 1-on-1, couldn't beat the keeper. Corner kick 0-0.
Yeah, he does extremely well, doesn't he? But Longstaff, he's going absolutely crazy. He thinks the ball should have been set back in that second phase, but for me, when Gordon's running down with that ball down the left-hand side of the box, Almiron to his right is in acres of space. Pears has come over, it would have been an open goal, and you can't blame Anthony Gordon there, but it probably would have been the better option.
As it is, it's a corner to Newcastle, where the Riverside stand meets the Darwin end. Over on the far side of the field, Trippier with a right-footed in-swinger, whips into the near post, flicked on by Longstaff over the bar. Goal kick. Good run from Longstaff into that near post, but just got too much on the backward header, and it went over the bar for a Blackburn goal kick, 0-0.
Yeah, a little bit too much on it, but again, you see, when the ball is swung in the box with quality, a couple of opportunities now where Newcastle have done well from it, considering when you compare them to the short corners in the first half especially, that they got nothing from.
Blackburn win a throw in their left back position as Newcastle press high up the field from Blackburn's goal kick. Just over 20 minutes to go on TalkSport 2. Extra time beckons at Ewood Park. Still goalless between Blackburn of the Championship and Newcastle of the Premier League. Scott Wharton clears long downfield. Markanday gives chase, but Fabian Scher there on the scene first for Newcastle to hook it back over halfway. Smodics heads it up in the air. Sigurdsson gets a nudge from Lascelles, and then Lascelles does well to shovel it out to Dan Burn on the left-hand side for Newcastle. Gets up to halfway.
The momentum shifting, Dance, you can feel it. Those Newcastle fans who are right, they can feel it as well. It's almost like they're trying to suck the ball into the back of the net.
Because that's the end that Newcastle are heading towards the Darwin end, and it's Almiron played it down the right-hand side of the box into the area, twisting and turning, lays it off to Gordon, and there's the goal for Newcastle. It's been coming, and Anthony Gordon, who was denied not 2 minutes ago by Ainsley Pears, made no mistake as Almiron had the ball right-hand side of the area, and a neat ball across the face of goal swept home by Anthony Gordon to put the Premier League side in front with 20 minutes to go. It is Blackburn 0, Newcastle 1.
I tell you what, Dance, that celebration was very telling from those Newcastle players, because most of them, aside from Harvey Barnes, they didn't go up to Anthony Gordon. Who did they go up to? Miguel Almiron, because he was fantastic. Goes down that right-hand side, he's got the presence of mind, he sidesteps the defender, and then did what Anthony Gordon didn't do. Just coolly and calmly slots the ball into him. Don't get me wrong, it's a good finish and I don't want to take away from that, but Almiron does extremely well, and that's why you saw all the Newcastle players running up to him.
So Anthony Gordon gets his first FA Cup goal for Newcastle, and Blackburn now have to find a route back into this cup tie with less than 20 minutes to go, and they're going to bring on Billy Comecchio for these last 19 minutes or so. Carl McFadden's coming off to allow that to happen, and now the Darwin end is full of song.
Absolutely incredible. This is why these Newcastle fans are almost world famous for their atmosphere, whether it be home or away.
So Billy Comecchio, who's just arrived from Dunkirk on loan, makes his debut as a left back, comes centre half, straight into the fray, and he's gone in at left back at the moment. But here come Newcastle, one goal up and sensing more. Lewis Miley can't latch onto it left-hand side, it's just stumped downfield by Britton, and there's a handball surely from Fabian Scher, but the referee waves play on. Smodics has it into the area, tries to go for goal, right footed shot well over the crossbar. I wonder whether there was a handball from Fabian Scher from that initial crossfield pass.
Yeah, I must admit that I thought the same. We get the benefit of the replays, and he clearly it's not just one where it hits his hand, he moves his hand towards it over the top of his head. Does look like it hits his hand, the assistant's right over that side, and as soon as that pass replay stopped, I was looking at Jarrett Gillett thinking, what's he going to do here, but nothing.
So a goal kick at the end for Martin Dubravka, away to our left for Newcastle. Newcastle fans in full-throated ecstasy away to our right-hand side. They've hit the front. They've needed the substitutions to do it. Almiron with the setup. Gordon stuck it away. And it's 1-0, but there's still time. With 17 minutes to go. Blackburn just trying to keep the ball inside their own half. Garrett lays it off. Comecchio completely bamboozles Almiron, and then a great challenge on halfway by Garrett, and then in goes Ayari, and he's fouled Guimaraes, and there's players littered all over the pitch as Wycombe Wanderers get a second goal against Cheltenham. Besler Bala late on there at Adams Park, and now the referee's just having a word with Eddie Howes, Miggy Almiron slowly gets to his feet. Sean Longstaff rather gets to his feet.
I think that word was because initially he was off the pitch, and then despite the pain he was apparently in, he manages to roll himself back onto the pitch.
So, free kick to Newcastle United. Walsall lead later on against Accrington Stanley. Chance for 4 straight wins for the Saddlers. Emmanuel Adebayoga puts Walsall in front. They were behind. Crossfield pass from Lascelles from the free kick, brought down by Dominic Hyam for Blackburn. Work back to Ainsley Pears. Wharton just ahead of the D, fires it out to Markanday inside his own half. Good ball in field for Ayari. Ayari was caught on halfway. Referee says play on. Blackburn still have it. Then there's a free kick given as Callum Britton was nudged into. And there's still a bit of belief around Ewood Park that Blackburn are not done yet. 1-0 down.
Definitely, it's not just a case of the fact that Newcastle have scored and that's it. They're still sticking to the game plan. There's still that belief about going forward and trying to get themselves back into the game. But for me, it's Almiron who's changed the game, not just with the assist for the goal, but the way he's closing down, harrying, the defensive work he's doing to try and win the ball high up. And every time he flies into a tackle, the Newcastle fans who are right are absolutely loving it.
Luton Town 2, Manchester City 6. Somebody else has gotten on the act score-wise. It's a cracker from Mateo Kovacic apparently. That's live on Talk Sport right now. Jim Proudfoot and Scott Minto here on Talk Sport 2. Newcastle just less than quarter of an hour away from the last day of the FA Cup. Leading Championship Blackburn by a goal to nil, scored on the 70-minute mark by Anthony Gordon. Ball's rolled back to Ainsley Pears. Anthony Gordon in the Euro squad for you, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk?
Tough one. I think definitely being the squad, I wouldn't necessarily put him in my starting 11, but no, he's still a young player, he's still got so much to develop, but certainly to bring him on as an impact, it provides that for sure.
Harvey Barnes scrapping for possession out on the far side of the field with Britton, and Britton hits it against Harvey Barnes. Does he? No, it's been given us a corner kick by Jared Gillett. So another corner to Newcastle at the Darwin end in front of their adoring fans who are sensing further progress in the FA Cup this year. And Kieran Trippier is just trotting over to that far corner where the Riverside meets the Darwin end to spot the ball down for this corner kick. Two defenders around the penalty spot, Byrne, Lascelles and Share all around there. In it comes, whipped into the near post again. Longstaff was the target, but he didn't get there, and Blackburn will bring it clear with Smodics. Plays the ball in field, it's clipped downfield by the substitute Kumetio. Out of play for a throw. Newcastle win it back. Gordon chops in field. Lewis Miley takes over, centre of the Blackburn half. Laid off by Barnes, and then Byrne just steers it back to halfway, and the two centre halves, Share and Lascelles.
Yet again, it's Almiron on the front foot, winning that ball initially, and the energy is brought to that forward line, and it's allowed everyone else as well, the midfield, the defence, to get closer to Blackburn and win the ball higher up the pitch.
So throw won by Jake Garrett, hitting the ball against Longstaff, so Cometio will have the throw. Right in front of Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall directing operations. Oh, a missed header by Lascelles, and now Sigurdsson's away. Left hand side of the area. Plays it in field. Markanday off the crossbar. Smodics! It's in! It's in! Sammy Smodics! It's 1-1! There was a mistake in the back by Jamal Lascelles. Seized upon by Arne Sigurdsson. He pulled it back for Markanday, who saw his shot to the woodwork by Martin de Bruyne, but Sammy Smodics on the follow-up makes it 6 FA Cup goals this season, and it's all square at Ewood Park with 10 minutes to go. Blackburn 1, Newcastle 1.
Listen to that, unbelievable. I'll tell Blackburn.
Well, Sammy Smodics has been such an important cog in the Blackburn machine, and the championship side are level. 10 minutes to go on TalkSport 2. 6 FA Cup goals this season alone for Sammy Smodics, to go with the 23 he scored in the championship. But that all came from Jamal Lascelles missing a header on this near touchline midway point of his own half, and Arne Sigurdsson was straight onto it, and it was good running from both Markanday to make the space for the initial shot, and Smodics knowing that there might be something cropping up at the far post if things went their way.
Yeah, exactly. As you say, initially Sigurdsson does well, because how many players do you see not anticipate things, or not expect anything to go wrong, but because he's trying to close down his Harry, and Lascelles is already on his front foot. Markanday does extremely well with the shot, and thought initially that was going to go in, if not for Dubravka. What a save from him. But then Sammy Smodics, as you say, as every good forward player does, just thinking, say worst case scenario for the defender, but best case scenario for the forward, I might get something here, he could smell it, and he did, and it's a really good finish from a tight angle.
9 minutes to go, 1-1. Port Vale 2, Fleetwood 1. Shaden Stockley gets a late goal back for Fleetwood, may not be enough. Forest Green 1, Wrexham 1. Paul Mullin with a 93rd minute penalty gets Wrexham level at the New Lawn, and Carlisle have beaten Burton for their first win after 8 successive defeats, the side sitting bottom of the League One table. I was saying not long before, the Blackburn fans still believe that there was something in this cup tie for them, and here we are all square.
They did, rightly so, and so did the players. It's so easy to think, oh well, it's Premier League opposition, they've scored the goal, there are only 15 minutes left, that's it. But it certainly wasn't in terms of their attitude, and on the balance of play for the full 82 minutes we've played already, Blackburn deserve to be level, there's no doubt about that.
Newcastle in possession inside their own half with Bruno Guimaraes. Almiron calling for it in the centre circle, but Guimaraes looked longer downfield for the run of Trippier, but that's overhit. And Blackburn have it back with Scott Wharton. Finds Smodics, the goal scorer. Lays it off down this near side to Cometio. Cometio slides it further down the left wing. Markanday getting chase. Hit against him by Jamal Lascelles. That's quite clever defending, actually. He made the mistake for the equaliser, but he cleverly whacked the ball against Cometio. They're into the end of the first half of extra time at the Vitality, and it's still goalless between Bournemouth and Leicester, or has there been a goal? Leicester have just taken the lead. Abdul Fattah has given them the lead right on half time. Bournemouth 0, Leicester 1. 1-1 here. Anthony Gordon for Newcastle in the centre circle, sliding forward, plays it right to Kieran Trippier. Down the right-hand side of the box, Gordon across the face of goal and chesting behind for a corner by Callum Britton. He knew that Harvey Barnes was thundering in behind him. Corner to Newcastle in front of their travelling fans at the Darwin end. 1-1.
He had to get that right, didn't he, Britton? Knew that Harvey Barnes charging him. If he leaves it, he can't risk that, because Harvey Barnes is going to head it either to goal or back across, and really good defending in the end.
So Trippier with another right-footed in-swinger from where the Riverside stand meets the Darwin end. Into the near post. Britton heads it clear and out of play on that far side for a throw-in. It's a fantastic goal from Abdul Fattah. I've just seen it on our monitors. What a hit from the Leicester kid to put them in front at the Vitality against Premier League Bournemouth. And that's half-time and extra time there, with the score at 1-0 to the Foxes. 1-1 here. 6 minutes of normal time to go. And the prospect of extra time looms ever larger in this part of Lancashire. Newcastle have it at the back with Fabian Schär. Hits it long downfield, looking for Almiron. It's tidied up by Cometio, who's being fouled. Is he by Almiron? No, he's been dispossessed. Almiron in the area, plays it across. Gordon can't control it. Miley brings it down at the edge of the area. Looks for Guimaraes, looking to wriggle into some space. Finds Almiron again. Trippier down the right-hand side of the box. Plays the cross in. Body clear by Britton. And up to Smodics, who then lays it off, looking for the run of Kusene. But it's hard to play for a throw. But Cometio almost let Newcastle in to retake the lead, but it stays 1-1.
Almost gets away with one, and Almiron, as usual, working extremely hard. The ball into Anthony Gordon. It's not quite as good in terms of the paces for the goal. It's fired at him. That means Gordon had to take a touch, which he's not got time to do. And then the follow-up cross from Trippier, for me, his body's in the box to aim for, and it's almost just that he slings it in the box. It's not good enough, and I don't think he's had his best performance tonight, Trippier.
Port Vale 2, Fleetwood 2, Jayden Stockley again. Darren Moore can't get a win yet as Port Vale's new manager. 2-2 at Vale Park. Charlton have beaten Derby for their first win in 19 matches. And Bolton have just gone behind at Wigan. They've got 20 minutes to go there, and Stephen Humphreys has given Wigan away. So Portsmouth not playing tonight. Looking at Derby in second and Bolton in third. Well, Derby have just lost and Bolton are losing. We are your home of the EFL and your home of the FA Cup. 2 more ties tomorrow night across our network. Forest against Manchester United on TalkSport. Chelsea against Leeds here on TalkSport 2. But we're not done yet at Ewood Park. 4 minutes of normal time to go. 1-1 the score. Blackburn trying to win the ball high up the pitch. And Smolitz inside the area. Goes for goal. It's straight to Dubravka. But he spilled it and held onto it to prevent it going behind for a corner kick. And again, Lascelles was the Newcastle defender who went to sleep for a moment. 1-1.
And Sigurdsson, it was in the middle as well, but I think it was difficult for Schmoditz. I don't think you can turn down that shot there, but I don't think he caught it the way that he wanted to, and even though Dubravka in the end, he did spill it, it just didn't have the power on it to beat the goalkeeper.
Can we find a winner in normal time? Or do we need the extra half hour here at Ewood Park? Live on TalkSport 2. Long ball downfield from Newcastle, intended for Gordon, but it bounces once and through to Pears, who was in a good starting position, the Blackburn goalkeeper.
Yeah, he was, but I've lost count of the times that Newcastle have tried that tonight, and it hasn't come off, but they're still persisting with it. I understand that you go into a game with a game plan, you look at the analysis, but if it's not working, as the players on the pitch, you've got to recognise that.
Now long ball downfield from Pears. Smolitz looked a little bit like he's just holding his arms out, and Ainsley Pears says, what am I meant to do with that? I'm not Sam Gallagher, you know. Ball's out of play for a throw. Sutton United have beaten Notts County by 4 goals to 3. The bottom side, who haven't won in 12 or kept a clean sheet in 12, have won at Meadow Lane. Some extraordinary results in the EFL tonight. And potentially a shock in the FA Cup.
It was similar on Saturday as well in the Championship, wasn't it? Some of the results were all over the place as well.
Well, you don't have to remind me, that dragged Birmingham into that relegation mire again. Ross County 1, St Mirren 1 in Scotland. Toyosi Olusanya equalises for the Buddies. 1-1 in the Scottish Premiership, 1-1 here in the FA Cup. And we've got 2 minutes of normal time to go. Markanday volleys the ball downfield to halfway for Blackburn, but it's won back by Scher. Drives infield into the Blackburn half, but he's run out of room. Now Sigurdsson, can he get the touch on halfway? Well, he does, but he was also under pressure from Sean Longstaff, and the ball is back with Martin Dubravka.
This game is so open. Neither team playing for extra time here. Both teams want to win it, and you just feel, even though there's only a minute and a half left, you feel there's still one more good opportunity in this game.
Well, Smolitz who just want to throw down the left-hand side, taken quickly. And Yasin Ayari went in for a challenge of 50-50 with Sean Longstaff. And Jared Gillett just wants a word with the youngster. He did stretch to try and win the ball. Was he in control of the challenge? Well, Jared Gillett didn't think so and has given a free kick. But you heard the roar around us from the Blackburn fans who thought that was a perfectly legitimate challenge.
Well, so did I, and I thought it on first viewing, and I've seen it on second viewing. It certainly was nothing wrong with it. No studs up, is in control. You can't take challenges like that out of the game. It's going to be non-contact soon.
We're going to go into 5 minutes of added time once the 90 is up, and here come Blackburn. Husseini on halfway, can't get past Guimaraes. 1-1 the score. Lovely turn from Almiron on halfway, keeps the ball in play, cuts infield into the midway point of the Blackburn half, plays a 1-2 with Gordon, then works it out left to Harvey Barnes. Barnes for Newcastle. Into the area, left hand side, faced up by Britton, guides it back to Almiron. Amaron again finds Harvey Barnes, left-hand corner of the box, whips it in right-footed, headed up and out by Hyam, headed further clear by Sigurdsson. Smodics will get there, just shy of the halfway line, but then he's robbed of possession by Fabian Schär. The 5 minutes goes off on the board as here come Newcastle with Harvey Barnes, who can't control as the ball was floated into his path. Actually, the way that the board officials held the ball up, it's not like there's 50 minutes of added time. It's only 5. I don't mind another 50. I mean, it's a good game and all that.
It is, but Harvey Barnes there, I think he had the opportunity to put that game to bed. Makes the run really well, times it. As soon as the ball drops into him, he's trying to bring it down and take another touch. I don't think he needs to. Needs to get his left foot round the ball, square it's Almiron, who's probably 10 yards out with no defender around him.
Great noise around Ewood Park, and now it's the Blackburn fans in the Clayton end to our left who are making the racket. Port Vale have failed to win again under Darren Morris, finished 2-2 against Fleetwood in League One. I'll give you a rundown of all the full-time scores in a minute, but there's plenty more going on here at Ewood Park. We're into the second minute of a minimum 5 that's been added on. 1-1 in this cup tie. Anthony Gordon gave Newcastle the lead. Equaliser inevitably from Blackburn's top scorer Sammy Smodics, and there's still time for a winner for either side. Newcastle have a free kick just inside their own half. Courtney Sweetman-Kirk.
And it's big moments for both clubs, and as I mentioned earlier, Blackburn certainly deserve to be level, but you know, if you're to lose it from here, you're absolutely devastated either way.
Free kick sent into the Blackburn box, but out came Ainsley Pearce quickly. We're listening to Blackburn 1, Newcastle 1 in the FA Cup on TalkSport 2 with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup. 18 plus, please drink responsibly. Here is Lewis Miley, floating the ball downfield, looking to Gimmer Ryesh. Out comes Ainsley Pearce to the edge of his area and holds on to it well, didn't slide outside the box. Newcastle fans behind that goal were desperate for him to do so, but he stayed just inside his 18-yard box with play on at 1-1.
It was so close. It's one of them sometimes when you're sliding, you can't help it. Somehow though, Pearce managed to just stop himself on the line.
Cometio finds Sigurdsson in the centre of the Newcastle half. Now Dylan Markandé, faced up by Dan Byrne, wriggles towards the edge of the D, goes down. Sigurdsson tries to take into the area. Desperate clearance from Fabian Schär. Cometio finds it again. Left-hand corner of the box, lays it back into the centre midfield. Ayari up to Markandé, tries a shot, deflects in the air, and Dubravka can claim as it drops out of the sky. Desperate end to this game, and we've still got at least 2 minutes of added time to play. 1-1.
Yeah, unbelievable. I did think there was a foul in there though on the edge of the box, and don't know why Jared Gillett didn't pull that back.
Smodics, edge of the D, back heels it. Ayari, what a save! Dubravka blocked it with his knees inside his 6-yard box, and Newcastle clear.
I think that takes a deflection on the way down, so that is a very, very good save from Dubravka.
Just had to get something on it, the Czech goalkeeper, and he got something on it. I think it was his knees or his shins to keep it out. 1-1 it stays. Great finish to this cup tie here on TalkSport 2. Hyam for Blackburn, out to Britton on the halfway line, right hand side, gives it back to Hyam. Ayari picks it up. Britton starts to make a run. Ayari thought about using him but apologises and holds his hand up as he works it back instead to the centre halves. Hyam at the edge of the centre circle has the option of Cometio to his left, gets into the centre circle, and now he'll find Callum Britton in a bit of space. Manchester City have won 6-2 at Luton live on TalkSport. That's over. Here's Jake Garrett for Blackburn, trying to thread the ball in field for Smodics. Heads it down to the halfway line. Wharton will get there and work it out to Cometio on this left-hand side. Good ball in field for Smodics, approaching the edge of the area. Just taken off his toe, and then it hits the referee. And he's got to stop play because that's what happens. The ball touches the ref. You have to have an uncontested drop ball. That's a frustration for the home fans.
Yeah, it is, and the other frustration is Smodics getting caught in two minds. Does really well initially, takes the ball on the back foot, and I think then he's either got to shoot or he's got to play Sigurdsson in. He does neither. He takes another touch and the opportunity disappears.
30 seconds of the minimum 5 to play. There's one or two Blackburn fans going home, walking down that Riverside stands for the exits. Oh well. Cometio rolls it back to Ainsley Pears, right-footed clearance downfield. Hussaini can't keep it in play, headed out by Sean Longstaff. All eyes on Jared Gillett, the referee, now to see whether he's going to give us an extra half hour of football, at least here at Ewood Park. And indeed he is. A roar goes up around Ewood Park. And here at Ewood, we're back underway with Blackburn in their blue and white halves, once again attacking the Darwen end as they did in the first half of normal time.
Substitution for Newcastle, replacing number 2.
And Newcastle in their change strip of the charcoal shirts with yellow shorts and socks attacking the Clayton end, and Livramento straight into the game, into the area right hand side, just can't get the better of Cometio, and Blackburn get it clear, and Hussaini chips it up to, well, attempts to chip it up to Sammy Smodics on halfway. So in front of Pears at the back for Blackburn, it's Britton, Hyam, Wharton and Cometio. Then Yassin Ayari and Jake Garrett in central midfield. Hussaini, Markanday, Sigurdsson and Smodics. And Newcastle, Dubravka in goal. It's now Livramento, Scher, Lascelles and Byrne. Longstaff, Guimaraes and Miley. And then up front, Gordon with Barnes. And Almiron. Back it goes to Martin Dubravka. So extra time well and truly underway. A minute gone of that extra half hour. Here's Harvey Barnes tight to this near touchline. Can't get past Dominic Hyam. Out of play for a throw to Newcastle.
I think you can see in Harvey Barnes is still not quite back to full flow. Yes, he's physically fit, but I always think getting back to match fitness, getting sharpness, that's a whole different ball game, and you see it's still not quite there yet.
Here's Jamal Lascelles finding Livramento in that right back position. Gives it back to Jamal Lascelles just ahead of his own 18-yard line. Longstaff just back heels it infield for Livramento. Almiron wriggles clear of a couple of challenges, tries to set Anthony Gordon away down the right hand side, but Scott Wharton there on the cover for Blackburn and gives it back to his goalkeeper Ainsley Pears.
Really clever by Wharton. Just before the ball was released, he just shoulder barges Anthony Gordon just to give himself half a yard. Really good defending.
Hyam forced to go back to his keeper Pears, who clears right-footed. Sigurdsson goes up for a header on halfway, loses out, but Markanday almost seized onto the loose ball. Instead, Newcastle won it back, and Guimaraes gets it over the halfway line, but Almiron has it taken off his toes. Smodics turns it round the corner to the centre circle. Garrett works it out to the right-hand side, and Markanday, oh, lovely skill from the former Tottenham youngster, works it out to the left-hand side, looking for Hussaini, who's coming forward to the edge of the area. Just ran into trouble there, did Sammy Smodics, who tried to take it with him, left-hand corner of the box, but just the ball, saw the ball get away from him, and Newcastle won it back, 1-1.
Yeah, I was interested to see how would start extra time, whether it would be creeping into the minds that they don't want to lose it, but again, both teams have come out wanting to win this game, and I love that.
And here's Newcastle on the attack with Anthony Gordon, finds Harvey Barnes inside the area, tries to curl it goalwards, and it's deflected behind for a corner off the right boot of Callum Britton. I make that 9 corners that Newcastle have won in this game. Apparently some fans were starting to leave. I mentioned that because they thought it was a replay. They hadn't checked with the club.
You think they've let them back in?
Well, there's a few walking back in. Can you see them down the Riverside stand opposite us? They've obviously realised.
Brilliant.
There's no replays in the 5th round. It's play to a finish tonight. So a corner kick that Longstaff will take with Trippier off the field, deep to the far post. Cometio on as a substitute for Blackburn, heads it out of danger. It's quite a clever header from Scott Wharton to head it down to the left back position rather than out to the edge of the area where he knew that Newcastle players were, and eventually it's cleared downfield. Stevenage have beaten Cambridge, by the way, in League One. That's confirmed now, 3 points for Steve Evans' side. Still waiting for confirmation that Wigan have beaten Bolton in League One. Still 1-1 here in the FA Cup on TalkSport 2 with 4.5 minutes of extra time being played. Livramento for Newcastle United. Strokes the ball back into his own half for Lascelles. Now Share. And Leicester are through. They have beaten Bournemouth by a goal to nil with that long-range beauty from Abdul Fattahu. So Leicester and Coventry, the two sides from the Championship at either end of the M69, are through to the last eight of the FA Cup.
Interesting as well. I think Maresca was coming under a bit of criticism for making 9 changes, but seems like a good idea now.
And Bournemouth still haven't made it past the quarter-finals in their FA Cup history. Leicester, of course, won it only 2 or 3 years back with Yuri Tielemans' fantastic strike at Wembley Stadium. Now here come Newcastle down the right-hand side with Livramento. Hooks the ball into the box. Barnes is closing into the far post, but Britton was there in front of him and steered it away for a throw-in on this near side, the Newcastle left.
And Almiron's kicking himself as well, because for some reason, instead of making that darting run across the front post, he just tries to pull back to the edge of the box, and it would have been a perfect ball to run onto and tap in.
1-1 the score. Lascelles for Newcastle. Finding Livramento. Almiron tight to that far touchline. Touches it in field to Longstaff. Cometio robs the ball back for Blackburn. Touchdown to centre midfield for Yassin Ayari. Drives the ball, intended to find Markanday on this right hand side, but it's over the head of Markanday and out for a throw. What does this say about John Eustace's credentials, that he's taken a Premier League side to extra time in an FA Cup tie?
Well, in terms of being tactically astute, a good man manager, obviously as a tactician, I think they've got that spot on. And yeah, obviously the big thing is, we're talking about his man management. He's obviously instilling a fantastic belief within this squad, because it's easy to, when you go 1-0 down, especially against opposition from a high league, it's easy to wilt. But if anything, it almost galvanised the Blackburn players and the fans alike. So it shows you how much belief he has instilled in this squad in a short time.
Cleared away by Pears into the centre of the Blackburn half, but Smodics is dispossessed. Longstaff now has it, 30 yards out. Flicks it to his right for Guimaraes. Out to Livramento. 1-1 the score if you're just tuning into TalkSport 2 in extra time. Newcastle were ahead. Blackburn pegged it back before full time. Ball played into the box. Lewis Miley had space. Brilliant block from Dominic Hyam when it looked like Lewis Miley was going to pull the trigger from 8 yards out. Blackburn get it half clear, but it's back with Dan Burn for Newcastle. Up to the edge of the area. Miley again with his back to play. Oh, and then he looked for Barnes and passed it straight out of play. But what a challenge from Dominic Hyam when it mattered most, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, to keep it 1-1.
Yeah, it's so important, isn't it? And I think there's also a little bit of a nudge from Jake Garrett in there as well, and I think that's important, just to put Miley off balance. And it's definitely not a foul, but it is being cute and it's being clever. So between that and the block, Blackburn did really well there.
A lovely touch from Billy Cometio. Brought the ball down like he's got carpet slippers on and works his way into the Newcastle half, the left back. Plays it up to Sigurdsson inside the area, trying to make room for a shot. Leaves it for the shot from Smodics that's blocked at the edge of the 18-yard line. And then flicked downfield by Almiron doing his defending, finding Livramento ahead of him. Livramento holds the ball up inside his own half, works it in field for Guimaraes and now Almiron. Back heel from Almiron, finding Longstaff. League football. 1-1 here. So Manchester City through tonight, winning 6-2 at Luton. Leicester City through, beating Bournemouth 1-0 at the Vitality, but we're no closer to knowing which of these two teams is going into the hat for the last 8. Championship Blackburn 1, Premier League Newcastle 1.
I really couldn't call it, Danson. I think I've mentioned it earlier. I love the fact that both teams have come out and they're still trying to win this game. It's not about sitting back and waiting for penalties.
Livramento driving forward for Newcastle into the area, tries to pull it across, might break for Longstaff. Massive challenge from Crisene to put it behind for a Newcastle corner at the Ronnie Clayton end. It is end-to-end stuff.
It's a brilliant sliding challenge. There's a bit of a deflection initially, but in the box you've got to get this right, full-blooded.
Well, Kusaini's just picking himself up, and Scott Wharton was down in the heap as well. So eventually it will be a Newcastle corner kick where the Clayton end meets the Riverside stand, and it will be Tino Livramento to take it. Oh no, not Livramento, it's Bruno Guimaraes who's going to take it. In actual fact, Livramento's the last man back, keeping half an eye on Dylan Markanday. Swept in by Guimaraes. It's headed towards goal by Shea, but it lands on the roof of the net. And it will be a goal kick to Blackburn Rovers away to our left-hand side. More FA Cup football tomorrow night across the network. Here on TalkSport 2, Chelsea leads 7:30. On TalkSport 2 at 7:45, Nottingham Forest against Manchester United. And then Friday night, great game in the Championship, a Midlands derby, West Bromwich Albion against Coventry at the Hawthorns.
Big game as well.
Jim Pratt and Chris Willemo will be there. Saw Coventry sweep Maidstone side last night in the FA Cup. West Brom doing brilliant things with meagre resources, relatively speaking, under Carlos Corberán. But Coventry need to get back in touch with the playoffs. That should be a great game for you to listen to on TalkSport 2 on Friday night. Ball's out of play. Newcastle make a bit of a Horlicks, so trying to get the ball down the right-hand side of the area. And Blackburn take a short goal kick and find Billy Cometio. Looks a real physical presence out there in that left-back position. Having a ride from Dunkirk. Now Jake Garrett floats the ball from left to right, looking to pick out Markanday. Dan Burn got his head to it just, but Callum Britton works it in field, gets it back from Smodix, has to tuck it behind to Ayari. Callum Britton again on this right-hand side for Blackburn, midway point of the Newcastle half. 11 minutes gone of the first period of extra time, and the ball's out of play for a Blackburn throw.
Unbelievable, really, that we're ticking into the 102nd minute, and I think this is sort of the only time really that we can see the physicality for both sides. It's just starting to creep in. There's a few tired passes, a little bit of fatigue. It's still tried to be being played at a pace, but you can just see it creeping in now. But to keep it going from both sides for that long, it's been an incredible effort.
Shea wins the ball back for Newcastle by the centre circle. Now Almiron looks to play in Barnes, left-hand side of the area, trying to check onto his right. Miley takes over down the left-hand side of the area, gets to the byline, doesn't cross it, works it back instead to the edge of the area. Bruno Guimaraes, slide rule pass, looking for Livramento, got him with a shot, blocked, long step for the shot, blocked again. Incredible double save from Ainsley Pears to keep Blackburn level.
That is incredible. The first one from Gordon, then the follow-up from Longstaff. That is why goalkeepers do training like that day after day, just to keep them reactions tight. And Ainsley Pears, if Blackburn to get anything out of this game, they've got him to thank, I can tell you that.
What a save, not once but twice by Ainsley Pears. And now a booking for Jamal Lascelles for basically holding on to Anor Sigurdsson on the halfway line. Had a chunk of his shirt on both hips and didn't let him get away. I'm just seeing a replay of that double save from Pears. Magnificent goalkeeping. 1-1.
Brilliant. The first one's with his feet, then he manages to get up quickly, make himself big, and I think it's a mix between his hand and his chest. It gets better every time you see it.
Play on, says the referee, as Barnes was hauled down by Markanday. Newcastle have it on halfway with Gordon. Clips it to the right-hand side, but Husseine there ahead of Livramento, trying to twist and turn on the halfway line, but he's running to Bruno Guimaraes. Wigan have beaten Bolton in League One, 1-0. Cost them Scott Wharton to concede a corner under pressure from Almiron. Minute and a half of the first period of extra time to go, and it is still breathless stuff here at Ewood Park. 1-1 on TalkSport 2.
It's interesting now, it's Anthony Gordon taking this corner, and I'll tell you why that is, because whether it be Longstaff, Guimaraes, Trippier, except for the one that Lascelles got his head on, the corners have been really poor today from Newcastle.
Well, let's see if they get it right this time from the corner routine. Almiron stood inside the D. It's going to be Anthony Gordon to take this corner kick from where the Clayton end meets the Riverside stand on the far side, over on the far left. Right-footed outswinger headed towards goal and palmed down the post. Not Not sure who got the final effort. I think it was Harvey Barnes who headed it down on 6 yards. Not sure that it was creeping in, but Ainsley Pears couldn't be certain and just pushed it round the post for another Newcastle corner, 1-1.
Yeah, and that ball was a lot better. His whip, his pace on it. And Harvey Barnes does really well to get anything on it.
So Gordon again with the out-swinging corner. Lascelles makes a run into the near post. In it comes from Gordon. Far post, he's burned with the header, but it's a good 5 yards wide. And it'll be a goal kick to Blackburn, and that may well be that for the first half of extra time on TalkSport 2.
I tell you what, that's a big opportunity for Dan Burn. Again, it's a really good ball out swinging from Anthony Gordon. Bags the pace on it. He's just got to direct it on target, Dan Burn.
And that is half-time in extra time. And again, the ovation for these Blackburn players, and it's mostly directed at goalkeeper Ainsley Pears, who made a quite stunning double save to deny Newcastle during that first half of extra time. We're ready for the second half of extra time in the FA Cup. Are we going to get a winner, or are we going to need penalties to decide which team goes through? We're back underway. Newcastle in their charcoal grey shirts and yellow shorts and socks, heading back towards the Darwin End, where the 7,000 Newcastle fans are to our right hand side. And straight away they're trying to get Hammer on in behind, but out comes Ainsley Pears, who stayed at home initially but then decided, yep, I can make that ahead of the Paraguayan, and he got there and held on to it. 1-1.
Yeah, he did really well, and especially because Newcastle have been trying to find that ball over the top quite frequently. Pears has been very good with his positioning all evening.
Cometio's want to throw up Longstaff, and they both clashed as the ball went out of play, and I think there was a stray arm just caught Longstaff in the top of the head, but he's okay, he's back on his feet, and Cometio will have the throw eventually for Blackburn. It's almost like John Eustace was telling him how to throw the ball back into play.
Yeah.
This is how you take a throw in.
I was watching that as well.
He can't be that inexperienced. Throws it in, and it's Hussein tries to help it on, but Newcastle get it clear. Back header from Gordon up towards the halfway line. Smodics does brilliantly to control the ball that was hit downfield, and Jake Garrett will back it back for Smodics, and he looks for Dominic Hyam and Callum Britton in space in the centre circle. That's good vision from Sammy Smodics to find a spare man at the back for Blackburn and just relieve some of the pressure. As the Blackburn fans making the noise here at Ewood Park at the moment, as Billy Cometio strides down the left-hand side. Can he whip the cross in? He can! Across the face of one, and they all left it at the back for Newcastle. Goalkeeper and centre-halves said after you clawed to each other, but there was nobody there in Blackburn blue and white. But they've won it back. Jake Garrett goes for goal ambitiously from 35 yards out, and that lands in Rose End. Goal kick to Newcastle. 1-1 on TalkSport 2 with a couple of minutes gone in the second half of extra time.
That is a brilliant ball by Cometio. All the forwards there converging for Blackburn should be licking their lips, but it's almost like they're expecting it to be cleared. It isn't. Someone's got to throw a leg at that, and it could have been a tap-in. I think it just rolled just inside the 6-yard box. It's a real good opportunity.
So it's a goal kick to Newcastle United away to our left, and Dubravka tells his centre-halves to get downfield. None of that short passing inside the penalty area nonsense, says Dubravka. This one's going long. Cracks it right-footed out towards the left-hand side. Finds Dan Burn, who brings it down very neatly on his instep and rolls it back to Shen. He goes all the way back to Dubravka after all that. And he will clear it right-footed under a bit of pressure from Sigurdsson. Again looks out to the left-hand side, and Harvey Barnes, who heads it back inadvertently straight to a Blackburn player. Yassin Ayari down the right hand side under pressure from Guimaraes, but Ayari's got the better of him, but then he fouls Guimaraes down the right hand side of the box, and Newcastle have a free kick in their left back position. 1-1.
Yeah, and you can hear what the Rovers fans think of that. They're not happy. To me, certainly looks like 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. Both players have got hands up, they're both grappling. I don't know how the assistant decides that that's a Newcastle foul.
Livramento loses out. Husseini down the left-hand side of the box, fires it into Smodics, just couldn't control it at the near post, and Newcastle smuggle it clear. Out to the left-hand side, and Harvey Barnes, who gets up to halfway. Held up for a moment by Ayari. Lays it off to Guimaraes in the centre circle. He spots Almer on his face, who brings it down and keeps it in play with his chest. Really does well, does Mickey Almiron. Moves infield to the centre of the Blackburn half, with Newcastle attacking the Darwin end to our right. Harvey Barnes, and then Miley with a cross. Out to play it goes off Callum Britton for yet another Newcastle corner. That's at least 12 that they've won in this match. And Anthony Gordon's gone across to that Riverside stand to take it. Takes it short to Dan Byrne, who's gone out to join him. Gives it back to Gordon. Blackburn went to sleep. Gordon whips it goalward straight into the chest of Pears. 1-1.
Dan, tell me why the tallest player on the pitch is going out for a short corner and not in the box. I've got no idea.
Almiron's caught by Kusene, yellow card for the Aston Villa loanee for a fairly agricultural challenge on Mickey Almiron. Newcastle free kick right next to Eddie Howe's technical area. 1-1 the score, 10 minutes of extra time to go on TalkSport 2.
The atmosphere inside the stadium is absolutely electric at the moment, isn't it? But any team that loses it now, they're going to feel absolutely devastated. They've both put the heart and soul into this, but I can't help but feel it's not going to penalties. I feel like there's a goal that's going to win this game.
So Bruno Guimaraes with a free kick for Newcastle, floats it into the area, up go the heads, it's headed on by Cher, and behind for a goal kick to Blackburn Rovers. So 5 minutes of the second half of extra time have elapsed. Already through tonight, Leicester City 1-0 winners at Bournemouth. Manchester City winning 6-2 at Luton. Erling Haaland scoring 5 of those 6. And here at Ewood Park, it is still locked at 1 apiece between Blackburn of the Championship and Newcastle of the Premier League in an enthralling cup tie. Ian Dancer and Courtney Sweetman-Kirk with you. Hope you're enjoying listening to it as much as we're enjoying bringing it to you tonight. Now Anthony Gordon's in behind, right hand side of the area. Goes in through the legs of Hyam, still got it. He's held up briefly, strokes goalward by Guimaraes. Oh, it's driven wide by Barnes. What a chance for Newcastle to win it. Blackburn at 6s and 7s at the back. Shot blocked on its way to goal. Came out to Harvey Barnes. It looked so easy to stroke it home, but he's blasted it wide. And Courtney Sweetman-Kirk's put her hand on top of a bobble hat. She can't believe it's still 1-1.
I just don't know how it's not gone in again. I think Anthony Gordon could probably do a little bit better. His decision making, it was almost like he didn't know what to do with the ball, but in the end the shot comes off. What a fantastic block in the middle of the goal, and then when the time you need that composure, like Schmodic did at the other end, it's blasted wide.
Again, it was Dominic Hyam with that initial block. Now Sigurdsson for Blackburn as they come forward. Markanday to his right, edge of the area, plays it through. Schmodic for the winner. No! Brilliant save by Dubravka. Schmodic plants his face down in the turf. He can't believe he's been denied a winning goal by the Newcastle goalkeeper, and it stays 1-1 with a chance at the other end now.
Yeah, it does. If I'm being ultra critical, this ball into Markanday, just a little bit short. It needs to be in front of him so he can take the touch. He has to wait then, and he finds Schmodic, and by the time he's done that, the angle is so acute. Such a difficult chance by then.
Great save to Dubravka with his right leg to deny Sammy Schmodic. 1-1. And everyone just takes a breath. You could probably just hear that silence for a moment as Newcastle win it back on halfway. It's Tino Livramento driving to the edge of the area. Brilliant run. Plays it in looking for Almiron, but Canetio toe pokes it behind for a Newcastle corner. No thought of just waiting for penalties. Both these sides are trying to win it. 8 gone in the second half of extra time. Short corner from Newcastle. Longstaff feeds Gordon. Guimaraes plays it back into the area. Longstaff, right hand corner of the 6-yard box, trying to get away from Britton. Lays it off to Anthony Gordon. Tries for the byline. Cross into the near post. Blackburn get it half clear. Kusene toe pokes it out of play for a throw. 1-1. What a finish.
The momentum, it just keeps swinging back and forth. as I said, I'm absolutely convinced we're going to get a goal. I just can't tell you which side it's for.
Back with Dan Byrne, just over the halfway line. Barnes scurries infield, going to go for goal, just over the bar from 30 yards out. He's capable of those sorts of wonder strikes, Harvey Barnes. Seen him do that since his Leicester City days, but that one was a good 2 yards over, and I think Pears had it covered. Goal kick, 1-1.
Yeah, Pears was flying across his goal, and the form that he showed tonight, it's going to take something absolutely spectacular to beat him, and that just wasn't quite on the money from Harvey Barnes.
Now is Elliot Anderson coming on with thoughts of a penalty shootout just around the corner? He waits on the halfway line. I think it's Lewis Miley who's going to go off, who came on as a substitute in the second half. So a sub being subbed, never a nice feeling, I'm sure, but maybe that is with regard to the potential for a penalty shootout. But here come Blackburn at 1-1. Smodics lifting into the box. Sigurdsson tries to knock it down. Down goes Ayari, and there was half-hearted claims for a penalty, but he never really was impeded in trying to go for the ball, and it's strictly behind for a goal kick to Newcastle. And here comes that change. Elliot Anderson on, Lewis Miley off.
Substitution for Newcastle.
It's a tough one, as you mentioned, coming on as a substitute, then being subbed with this time in the game.
Eddie Howe's just explaining to Lewis Miley why he's taken him off, that's good man management. Didn't let him walk past him without an explanation.
No, that's very important, and I think obviously you don't want to be subbed as a sub, especially in a 90-minute game. When it gets longer, you still don't want that, but you probably understand there's different situations at play when it goes to 120 minutes.
So Anderson on in the Newcastle midfield. 5 minutes to go. 1-1. Strong run down the right-hand side from Dylan Markendale. He gets brought down, and Blackburn have a free kick and a chance to load the penalty area, frankly. 1-1 the score. Markendale, great industry down that right-hand side for Blackburn, and he's won a free kick midway point of the half. 1-1.
Yeah, and you can see all the defenders coming up now. There's only one thought process to this. First and foremost, it's got to be a good delivery to give yourself a chance.
So Newcastle holding a very high line, a good 25 yards out from this free kick. It's about, 10 yards in from the far touch line, almost at the midway point of the Newcastle half. Yasin Ayari standing over it. Newcastle holding that line just ahead of the D. Now it comes in from Ayari. Up go the heads, headed clear by Lascelles. Drops for Jake Garrett at the edge of the D. Trying to play it into the box, half cleared. Wharton tries to feed it back into the area. Goes out of play off Wharton. It's going to be a throw to Newcastle in their right back position, and the seconds tick away. We've got 3 minutes of extra time to play. 1-1 the score on TalkSport 2. Jake Garrett for Blackburn Rovers finds Kusenek up to the edge of the area, plays a 1-2, almost burst through there for a moment, the left wing back, but away come Newcastle on the counter. Harvey Barnes loses out on the halfway line, but it's a foul from Yasin Ayari. That's a yellow card for the Blackburn substitute, and Newcastle took the free kick too quickly. So Yasin Ayari, another player booked by Jared Gillett, and we've got 2.5 minutes to go before the lottery of penalty kicks. Courtney Sweetman Kirk.
Harvey Barnes did really well there. I think Anthony Gordon that slipped over in the process of going forward, so he had to hurdle his own teammate as well as trying to dodge the defenders.
Guimaraes will take the free kick pretty much bang on halfway in the centre circle. Takes it out to the left-hand side. Lascelles goes up for a header, so does Byrne. Byrne flicks it on, but Pears will be able to let it drift towards the dead ball line and then picks it up as Anthony Gordon comes towards him. 2 minutes to go of extra time. 1-1. I tell you what, I've been doing football reporting for 25 years now, and it's never lost on me how much of a privilege it is to do this job. On nights like this, games like this, and I don't have a dog in the fight, I'm just really enjoying this cup tie, and I do hope wherever you're listening to us, you're enjoying it as much as we are bringing it to you. This has been a brilliant game of football between two ultra-competitive sides that are not done yet, even though penalties are looming.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more, Danton. Like you say, you're looking over to your right, you're seeing 7.5 Newcastle fans making the trip down on a Tuesday night. The atmosphere within this stadium, what it means to the fans. Yeah, football, it's an amazing, amazing thing, and the fact that we get to be sat up here talking about it as a job, incredible.
Scott Wharton's just been given the Man of the Match award from the sponsors here at Ewood Park tonight, and he has put in a shift. Well, they've all put in a shift tonight on both sides. As we move into the last minute of extra time, offside flag goes up against Smodics. One last chance maybe for Newcastle to work the ball downfield. Bit of cramp for Smodics, I think, over on that far side. It's going to be one extra minute after the 15 are up in this second period of extra time. Time enough for a winner for either side here on TalkSport 2. It's Guimaraes in the centre circle for Newcastle. 1-1. Passes out to Dan Burn, further out to Harvey Barnes on the left wing, up against Callum Britton. Goes on the outside of Britton, feints the cross, checks onto his right. Ball goes into the area. Kumetio, the tall, rangy left back, gets it half clear, and then Hussein does brilliantly to play a 1-2 with Sigurdsson. Burst into the centre circle, wrestled to the ground by Longstaff. Yellow card for the Newcastle midfielder. And we're into that minute of extra time on extra time.
Well, Longstaff there was just thinking, I've got to make the challenge, I don't care. He knows he's going to get a caution there, but he's thinking, I do not want to lose this at the 11th hour. I've got to stop this attack.
And so, in this 1 minute of extra time, Blackburn have a free kick in the centre circle. Pears must have been thinking about taking it, but it's been left for Callum Britton to take. Again, Newcastle holding quite a high line, 25 yards out or so. Callum Britton raises his right arm, ready to take this free kick. Could be the last action of the game before a penalty shootout. In it goes from Britton, headed into the area by Wharton, headed out by Share, drops at the edge of the box, but Wharton was fouling Livramento. Free kick to Newcastle, and they want to take it quickly because they think there's still time to get a winner. But instead, referee Jared Gillett blows the whistle after a thunderous 120 minutes of football. And listen to the noise. The Newcastle fans aren't applauding, but the Blackburn fans in the other three stands certainly are. The championship side about a penalty shootout against Premier League Newcastle United, and Fabian Schär of Newcastle is up first at the Darwin end to our right in front of the Newcastle fans. The Swiss with his right foot just slides it into the bottom right hand corner with a very casual finish to put Newcastle 1-0 up in the shootout, and Sammy Smodics will be up first for Blackburn.
Yeah, calm and composed from Schär, and we normally think about him scored some unbelievable goals, the power in his strikes, but that one, calm and composed. And I think as soon as you go behind for the next penalty taker, Sammy Smodics has a lot of pressure now to keep parity.
That's the voice of Courtney Twickenham-Kirk alongside me, Ian Danter here at Ewood Park. Smodics places the ball on the spot to our right hand side, stands right next to the ball. It takes 2 or 3 paces straight back from the ball. He's first up for Blackburn, up against the Bradco, saved it! Plunged to his right hand side and kept it out. Advances Newcastle in the shootout after 1 penalty apiece as Smodics sees his penalty save.
Yeah, it wasn't the best of penalties, a little stutter in the run up. It looked like it was going down to the left of the goal, the right hand side of the keeper, but it wasn't anywhere near the corner, and I think the pressure's got to him. You look at those Newcastle fans behind the goal swinging their scarves. It must be so much pressure.
Harvey Barnes, who only came back into the Newcastle reckoning after injury in February, he's second up for Newcastle United. Right footed from Barnes, saved by Pears. The advantage cancelled out straight away as Ainsley Pears plunged to his left and kept it out. It's still just 1-0 to Newcastle, and Callum Britton is about to take Blackburn's second penalty to try and bring them level.
very similar penalty dance just to the other side, not in the corner whatsoever. And actually, Ainsley Pears, he wasn't in the middle of his goal, he was to that his left-hand side of the goal. It's a really poor penalty from Harvey Barnes.
So Callum Britton, the former Barnsley fullback, joined a couple of years ago. Scored a goal against Millwall here in October. What's he like in a penalty shootout? He's been all action all night, the right wing back for Blackburn. And he's up against Dubravka. Very short run up for Callum Britton, only one pace. Right footed, he scores! Finds the bottom left-hand corner. And after two penalties apiece, it's 1-1 in this FA Cup tie.
Yeah, and it was a very short run-up, but very confident. I'm not surprised with that with Callum Britton, because in terms of its technicality, the way he hits, the way he strikes the ball is absolutely wonderful. And that's what you've got to do when you hit it in the corner. You've got to make sure you find the corner so the keeper can't get to it, and that's what the previous two penalties didn't do.
So penalty number 3 is for Bruno Guimaraes of Newcastle United. Paces back to the edge of the area. Ainsley Pears is cheeking up and down on his goal line at the Darwin end. Up comes Guimaraes, short run up and blasts it down the middle, and Newcastle are back in front 2-1.
Brilliant penalty from a confident player. It's high to the right hand side of the goal. Ainsley Pears coincidentally goes the opposite way, but even if he went the right way, I don't think he's saving that.
So penalty number 3 for Blackburn to be taken by Arne Sigurdsson, the Icelandic. Now permanently a Blackburn player, had an initial loan from Norrköping. Scored 7 goals in all competitions. He did score against Cambridge in round 3. So he's up next for Blackburn to bring them level with their third penalty. Right-footed effort from Sigurdsson, and he's found the bottom left-hand corner. Dubravka guessed right but couldn't get there in time. 3 penalties taken, and it's 2-2 on TalkSport and TalkSport 2 in this shootout.
Yeah, and you're right, Dan, it's another good penalty. It struck with pace, with purpose, and despite Dubravka going the right way, you can't get anywhere near it. And that's, for me, what you've got to do with penalties. Pick your spot, find the corners, and even if the keeper goes the right way, if it's good enough, they won't save it.
Well, Elliot Anderson was brought on in extra time, and I wondered whether it was to take a penalty, because Lewis Miley was taken off to allow the former Bristol Rovers man to take this spot kick. He's up with Newcastle's 4th penalty, up against Ainsley Pears. Elliot Anderson, right-footed, finds the bottom corner. Lovely penalty from Anderson, and once again they have the advantage. And it's 3-2, but here comes the 4th penalty for Blackburn Rovers, and I think it's Yasin Ayari that's taken it, isn't it?
Yeah, and just looking back at this penalty from Anderson, no wonder they've brought him on to take one. Hits the side netting, really well placed with a lot of power, leaving Ainsley Pears absolutely no chance.
So the 20-year-old on loan from Brighton is going to be up next for Blackburn Rovers. Spent the first half of the season at Coventry City. Made his Sweden debut in the last year or two, Yasin Ayari. Very carefully paces back 2 or 3 paces from the ball. Dubravka waits on his line. Ayari then for Blackburn with their 4th penalty. Right-footed, and he just puts it away with a little hop, skip and a jump. It's 3-3 in the shootout, and we are effectively at sudden death already as Anthony Gordon steps forward to take Newcastle's 5th penalty.
It's almost like the little Jorginho skip up, isn't it? I could never take penalties like that. I had to pick my spot, hit it hard, but that, when you're waiting for the keeper to move it, takes nerves of steel.
So Anthony Gordon, who swept Newcastle in front with 20 minutes of normal time to play here at Ewood Park, has the responsibility with the 5th penalty up against Ainsley Pears. Angled run up for Gordon for a right-footed penalty. Up he steps Gordon, right-footed, finds it right down the middle of the goal with Ainsley Pears diving to his left, couldn't get anywhere near it. So Anthony Gordon's done his job, and Blackburn's 5th penalty coming up. Dominic Hyam that's coming forward to take it? I think it is, you know.
I think it is, and it's a massive moment. That from Anthony Gordon, by the way. That pressure going down the middle. You know, if the keeper don't move, you look daft, but hits it hard and true down the middle and gets his rewards.
Scored his first goal of the season against Norwich on Saturday, Dominic Hyam. Nearly 200 appearances at Coventry City before coming to Blackburn a couple of years ago. He needs to keep this shootout going. If he misses, Newcastle are through. Hyam, right-footed, save! Onto the post, by Dubravka! Newcastle have won it! Dubravka the hero in the end, pushing Hyam's penalty onto the post, and after a valiant effort